Man, I can smell it, man. I can smell football right around the corner. 12 days away to the start of the National Football League season. 12 days away. And by the way, tomorrow, the Seahawks report. Then, on Friday, the 49ers report. So you're getting teams start reporting here. We got the Hall of Fame game, as I said yesterday, at the end of the month here, man. I'm telling you, we're right here. And all decisions that get you ready for the upcoming season, you're not going to make any more decisions here, folks. You may add another player when cutdown day happens. You are possibly going to be in a trade. Maybe Howie goes out and does this. Maybe Howie goes out and he looks for a safety. I don't know if that's going to be a major priority. But it's seemingly that he always goes out and makes a deal, either at the trading deadline or prior to the start of the season, like he did with Gardner Johnson. But I'll tell you, man, here's what you have. Your 90-man roster set. You're ready to go. All the work you did in your offseason, the fall is now where it pays off. And we'll see. Again, great questions. You know, more importantly for the Eagles this year, your direction is going to be determined on what you're going to do for the next 5 years. The 2026 season, if you were going to make T-shirts with a theme, 2026 is going to tell us a lot. It's going to tell us a lot on what direction you go. Shitted on Nick yesterday, and rightfully so. Great show yesterday, minus Fart Holmes. I guess it's Jalen's turn today. Don't get ahead of the curve. I guess it's Jalen's turn today. No, will you? I'll tell you what, Martian, I appreciate you, brother. You know that. You be the determinant of it. You determine whether or not it is. Folks, do you know who the highest win percentage quarterback is since 2022? Does any of you know who the highest win percentage for a quarterback in the NFL? Do you know? Since 2022. Anybody? The guy with the best win percentage of any quarterback in the National Football League. What guy has the highest win percentage? What do you think? No. 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 Since 2022, who has the highest win percentage of any quarterback in pro football? Allen. No. Purdy. No. Here, who do you think? You got it. Sam Darnold has won 80% of his starts. 80% of his starts since 2022. And he's a journeyman. You don't have to be elite to win Super Bowls. You just have to be on an elite roster. You don't have to be exceptional, as Tom Brady says, to win a Super Bowl. You just don't have to be exceptional. Right. You have to be committed and you have to be good. That's how simple this conversation is. So when everyone's talking about what list and where Hurts and Allen and Mahomes, it's irrelevant. You don't have to be elite to win a Super Bowl. You can be really good on a great roster, and that gives you a chance. Jacoby Brissett has a shot to win a Super Bowl if he's on a great roster. We've seen this before in the past. Okay? I mean, at the end of the day, look at Sam Darnold. He's not an elite football player. Well, he's won the most games percentage-wise in 4 years. 4 years. And he's 4-1 in the playoffs. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. And as we said, how many teams has the guy been on? Jets, Carolina, 49ers, Minnesota, Seattle. This guy's been on 5 football teams. 5 football teams. That's not elite. And he was cut. This guy's been cut. And you're telling me that that's elite? An elite quarterback in pro football has been waived or cut. Really? Maybe it's more about the roster instead of the signal caller that we've been saying here. You don't have to be special. So let's look at the last 10 years. You don't need an elite edge rusher to win a Super Bowl, but you need a great DT. Yeah, Chris Jones, Aaron Donald, Jalen Carter. Absolutely. I don't think you have to be special at the edge position. I think it's overrated. I think in some aspects, wide receivers are overrated. Elite quarterbacks win individual accomplishments, but smart quarterbacks win playoff matchups and Super Bowls. Okay? By the way, based on what? Winning. Sam Darnold has been cut 5 times. Noah, you don't have to have an elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Sam Darnold's not elite. $30 million, 5 teams. He's a journeyman. So being an elite quarterback is overrated and unnecessary. Why so much importance into it then? Because when you got a quarterback like Allen and Burrow and these other guys, you don't have to have an elite general manager. Most of the time, those owners don't want to spend money on the roster. It costs more money for the Eagles to win a Super Bowl than any football team in the league. Look at the dead money. Look at how much you're paying on offense. Look at the salary you're paying on offense. The more money you spend, the less importance the quarterback. The 2 highest paid payrolls are the 49ers and Eagles on offense. Whatever you think of Purdy, he's a good player. He's above average. But look at the money they spend. Trent Williams, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. Now they spent money on the quarterback as well. It costs more money to do what Philly does than to do what Buffalo does or what Cincinnati does. The owners that have those elite quarterbacks don't utilize them. You know, really, the only team that really utilizes an elite quarterback is Los Angeles. The Rams. Kansas City doesn't. They spend no money on offense. There's no elite. There hasn't been an elite wide receiver or tight end in Kansas City in 5 years. In 5 years, there hasn't been an elite offensive football player. Not one. Hurts has had the most expensive. Well, if you have the most expensive, you better win. Hey, you're 50-18 in 4 years with the most expensive offense? Well, hey, thank you. You spent the money for it. There's not one player on Kansas City that's elite. Here, let's go down the list here of what Kansas City has. Nobody on the planet would sit there and say there's one elite player in Kansas City. Nobody would say that. Here, let's see here. Kansas City. Let's see here. Who's their best wideout? So let's take a look here who their best wide receiver is. And see what they have here for roster here. Here's Kansas City. Here we go. Depth chart. Okay, so their best is who? Rashee Rice. Let's see here. Rashee Rice, what he's done in his career since he's been in KC. So here's his records. 938, 288, and 571. And he's never healthy. He's played 12 games in the last 2 years. He's never healthy. The Eagles led the NFL by a massive margin, pushing over $474 million in salary cap space into the future void years. Browns ranked second, roughly $271 in deferring charges, followed by the Lions at $196. Yeah. Hey, there's no question. Look at this right here, Hollywood. The Eagles have the most money vested in that offense by far. You better be 50-18. And when you're not, when you're not, you better get your return on investment. Look at the investment that Seattle's made at quarterback. The Seattle Seahawks are paying $35 million for a quarterback and won the Super Bowl with nobody outside of JSN. Get this. The wide receiver in Seattle makes more money than the starting quarterback. He makes $40-some million. And the quarterback makes 35. Seattle's got the remedy. I'm not paying 60. Seattle doesn't have to pay $60 million for a quarterback. Seattle is cool with just Sam Darnold. 35, 40 million. Don't have to pay high-end money. Build up the roster like John Schneider can. And John Schneider, with his 3 Super Bowl rings, phenomenal. Phenomenal job, dude. Phenomenal job. I mean, you don't have to be elite to win a Super Bowl at quarterback. The 49ers can't beat the Chiefs because it's Mahomes versus a below-average quarterback. KC is 5-0 versus San Francisco. Yes. John Schneider, yes. Let's see here. Double check. How many Super Bowl rings does John Schneider? How many Super Bowls does GM John Schneider have? GM John Schneider have 3. Yes, 3. 1 in Green Bay, 2 in Seattle. Gruden spoke the other day about college quarterbacks being developed RPO and bubble screens. Can't read and dissect defenses. They're the problem for the NFL. Absolutely. I saw that comment that John said that quarterbacks in the NFL today are not evolving. They're not. Okay? I didn't realize that Kelsey was a wide receiver. Sills, my take is this will be Hurts' final year in Philly. The changes that the organization has made is telling you they are moving on. The dual threat quarterback isn't trending. He will find work, maybe Atlanta. No, dude. Jalen Hurts is going to play quarterback in this league. Okay? Tom Brady had one great receiver with the Patriots. He won Super Bowls. With Scrubs keep giving this narrative about these quarterbacks not having great receivers. Tom Brady had one great wide receiver with the Patriots. He never had a great wide receiver with the Patriots, like ever, and won Super Bowls in New England. Name me one wide receiver he had in New England that he won Super Bowls with. Okay? Tom Brady had a great receiver? Who? That he won in New England with? Name me one. Who is it? Not one wide receiver Brady played with will ever go to the Hall of Fame. Edelman is a Hall of Fame receiver with 7,000 receiving yards? Edelman? Brady didn't play with one wide receiver in New England and that won a Super Bowl that will go to the Hall of Fame. Like, not one. Okay, great. Again, I don't think Edelman was great. I think Edelman was a good player. I think Amendola was a good player. Great? I wouldn't put the word great around those guys. What goalpost? They weren't great. Here's Edelman's numbers. If you think this is great, here's Julian Edelman's numbers in what he had. 6,822 receiving yards. Okay? That's common. And Edelman, Amendola. Amendola had this for stats. Tom Brady combined. Amendola and Edelman had 13,000 yards combined with the two of them. They're buying tickets to the Hall of Fame, guy. They're not they're not great players. They're good players. I mean, dude, try not to dismiss the word great when you're talking about, like, here, Davante Adams is a great football player. Edelman is not. Wow, you need a word that differently. Randy Moss is a Hall of Famer, just didn't win a Super Bowl there. My point is, Tom Brady never won a Super Bowl with a Hall of Fame wide receiver in New England. That's a fact. I never said Randy wasn't the best player he ever played with at the wideout spot. That's a different conversation. He never won a Super Bowl in New England with a Hall of Fame receiver. That's a stone cold fact. People know so much about football. Tom had Moss for 1 year, broke all kinds of records, went to the Super Bowl and lost. Okay? You don't need elite receivers to win big. Correct. You need it. Listen, now that changes. Mahomes and Brady are so great, they don't have to have great wideouts. They had a great, by the way, Ricardo, what's the one thing that both Mahomes and Brady had that Hurts doesn't do. They use tight ends. You think there's any coincidence that both places had elite tight ends? Maybe the best pass-catching tight end and Kelsey in Kansas City, and maybe the most complete tight end in New England? You think there's any threat to the hash marks and what made those guys great? They threatened the middle of the field. If you don't threaten the middle of the field, you're never going to be an elite passer. You're never going to be. What are you not hearing? Tom Brady never won a Super Bowl with a Hall of Fame wideout. What are you not getting? What are you not hearing? Once again, idiotic, and you hear 2% of what a, well, I'm the one making the top. I'm telling you, the Eagles go 14-3. I can't wait for the cope session after. Well, good luck to you, man. So how is Joe Montana better than Tom Brady? Well, because Joe Montana didn't have a tight end, didn't have a Hall of Fame wideout when he won his first Super Bowl. And you were in an era where you could kill the quarterback. And you're in an area back in the day where you could kill wideouts. Couldn't do that back in Joe's day. Montana, Brady could have played then. But Montana today would never be beat. So the bigger issue with Hurts, skill set or price tag? Both. Because the price tag doesn't fit the skill set. I'm not spending $60 million. Okay? That's Josh Allen and Justin Herbert's narrative. They don't have great wide receivers. My God. What a fucking Jalenite. It's so disgusting how you look at players and how you drop to your knees for a guy that's been afforded the most expensive payroll on offense. And you know you could have got more out of that payroll on offense. You should have 3 Super Bowls in a row with that payroll and that skill set. Damn, dude, not very smart. You don't need an elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl. You don't need a Hall of Fame wide receiver to win a Super Bowl. You need a consistently good team. Angelo, correct. That's right. Sills, I was at the barbershop the other day, got in a friendly argument with a Miami Hurricane fan. He said Bill Hawkins was starting DT next to Jerome. I said, it was you. Did I make an ass of myself? No, he was an end. The 2 ends in our team were Stubbs and Hawkins. Jerome and I were the 2 defensive tackles. He didn't start next to him. Bill was the 4th guy on that line too, by the way. All right. So let's get to the topics. Now, I know all of you have a major problem answering questions because somehow you filtered this back to your quarterback. I don't know how we get there, but we do. We somehow filter this back to the quarterback because many of you get butthurt when a question is asked. Okay. I'm going to ask this question in a different way. And I want you to help me. As we go forward, and we're getting ready for training camp in 12 days, how do you feel in 2026 Sean Mannion is going to make your offense better? How? How's he going to make your offense better? What's he going to do to make the offense better? How is he going to make the team and the unit better? He's going to spread the ball around. Something I think, RC, that we would agree Hurts hasn't done like in 5 years. So Mannion is going to spread the ball around. A spread offense. So he's going to have a spread offense passing game. Okay? Spread offense passing game. And again, the question, how is Mannion going to make the Eagles' offense better? You don't need an elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl. You need an elite quarterback to win multiple, considered the roster turnover every year. Quarterbacks is the only constant on the field. I'll take that, brother. The offense is going to be faster. Okay. So you think they're going to run screens to Saquon? So Mannion is going to implement a screen game. Okay. Let's see what my boy Marsh says. He's going to have answers unlike the doofus head coach. So Mannion is going to override Nick Sirianni with having answers. Am I saying it right, Marsh? So when he makes a decision, Nick's not going to override it, right? Okay? So what do we say? He's going to have autonomy in the passing game. Mannion, autonomy, passing game. So wait a minute. Mannion's going to spread he's going to have a spread passing game. They're going to add screens. And he's going to have autonomy in his play calling. So for the first time in Jalen Hurts' career, you're going to run a spread offense, a screen game, and he's going to have autonomy to call his own plays. And he's going to be unpredictable. Okay. Spreading the ball around. That's how Sean Mannion, utilizing the tight end. This is a great exercise. Sills, is it true you don't need an elite quarterback, but you can't you can't pay him like he is elite in that scenario? You're not paying Sam Darnold elite money. He's making $35 million. Utilizing wide receiver 3. Okay. So for the first time since 2021, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 5 years of starting. In Jalen Hurts' 6th year, they're going to run a spread offense under Mannion, a spread passing game, we'll say. You're going to have a screen game. Coordinator's going to have complete autonomy. And you're going to utilize wide receiver 3. All things that have never happened here. So on July 16th, this is what you guys are expecting out of Sean Mannion, right? So there's a problem with this new offense. It requires the running back to catch passes out of the backfield, something Barkley can't do. So get this, guys. This is what people in here have said in the first 30 minutes of the program. Sean Mannion, the new offensive coordinator, you're expecting from him. Because the question is, how is Sean Mannion going to make the Eagles' offense better? And how? You're going to have a spread passing game. You're expecting screens. You're expecting him to have complete autonomy on play calling. And you're going to utilize wide receiver 3. Anything else? That's a lot to give a first-year play caller. You trust the first-year play caller with all that? Okay. This is what you guys said. You're expecting a first-year play caller to create a spread passing game, to implement a screen game, to have complete autonomy over this, and utilize wide receiver 3. For a guy who's been a coach 18 months. You don't think that's a lot? Let Manny call plays, not Sirianni breathing on his shoulder. Well, that's not going to happen. I don't know what makes somebody believe that Hurts can do that. It's wishful thinking. If Nick is such a great coach, how come he never hired somebody to implement a spread passing game? Implemented a screen game? Utilize wide receiver 3. Hey, RC, if Nick's such a great coach and a smart coach, why in 5 years and now, in your opinion, with Sean Mannion, what he's going to do this year, how come nobody implemented a spread passing game? If John McMullen's right and Nick made the hire, right, Zander? Zander will be with us at 3:30. John said Nick makes all the hires. Well, if that's the case, how come in 5 years he never hired a guy to put a spread passing game in until year 6? Anybody? How come he never hired a coach that implemented a screen game in 6 years or 5 years? Now he has. And if he makes all these hires, how come he never utilized wide receiver 3 in 5 years? But now he is. Help me make sense of this. If Nick Sirianni hired this guy, how come he hasn't run a spread passing game in 5 years? Why? Why hasn't he run a spread passing game? Or even attempted it? People are delusional if they think he could do that. Hold on here. Nick didn't hire Mannion. Whoa, wait a minute. I'll take John McMullen's word. John's there every day. I take his word. He said Nick Sirianni makes the hires. Okay. If Nick Sirianni makes the hires, how come in 5 years they never implemented a spread passing game with the coordinators that he's hired? Anybody? He's there to help Nick, not Jalen. Well, wait a minute. John said this morning on Birds 365, Nick makes all the hires. My question to you was, how is Sean Mannion going to make the Eagle offense better? Okay. You guys said he's going to implement a spread passing game. Okay. No problem. There's going to be a screen game, and you're going to utilize wide receiver 3. Fair enough. How come you haven't done that in 5 years under Nick's guidance? Now in 6 years, in year 6, you're going to implement all these things that you guys are saying he's going to do? How come you didn't do it sooner? Maybe you couldn't. I don't know. Sills, yesterday, you were dead nuts on Nick cannot coach an RPO. 26 falls on Nick. I don't think Nick can coach an RPO. He's never coached it. And so when he's never coached it, what did he do? He limited it to quarterback. Oh, no. You're getting me wrong here, dude. I'm going by what people are saying that cover the team. You're telling me Nick makes these hires. If Nick makes these hires, my question is, why haven't you implemented a spread passing game in 5 years? Why haven't you implemented a screen game? Why haven't you utilized wide receiver 3 in 5 years? Now in year 6, you're changing course. Well, in 5 years, you never did this, Nick. Now you're doing it in year 6? You guys said you're expecting Sean Mannion to make the offense better. Okay? My question is, why haven't you done it in 5? You haven't done one of these things. There's no screen game. You don't utilize wide receiver 3. There's no spread passing game. Now there is. How is Sean Mannion going to make the offense better? So you're going to go against all the shit you did and implement all these new facets into the passing game. Spread game, screen game, and utilize. Here, let me see if there's even a statistic to this. Okay. So in Jalen Hurts' career since 2021, he's thrown 200 screens. He's thrown 200 screens. So now they're going to up that. Okay. And you're going to spread the football around. Thank you, Daff. Hey, Sills, if Moore changed his philosophy and went to the running game, I think everything is predictable on O-line health and the defense. I think it's a ruse because if they were set on passing, they would have kept AJ. You know what? Hey, Daff, I'll tell you what. I think they're counting more on health than they are on scheme. So to your point, yes. I think they're hoping more. I would be. He's not going to have a spread offense. He's not going to have a high uptake of screen passes. And you're not utilizing wide 3. You're going to utilize Devontae more by moving him around and getting him in space. And I think they're counting on health. And let me tell you, I feel more comfortable with them relying on health than a schematic change. I mean, if I were a betting man, I'd rather bet on the health than a first-year play caller coming up with spread passing game, a screen game, and utilizing wide receiver 3 is absurd. Okay? Get this. Listen to this. I swear this guy Sileo is a weirdo. All he keeps asking every day is how Sean Mannion is going to make the passing game better. What's wrong with that question? Your quarterback's future resides and is on that exact topic. The future of your quarterback resides on that, son. If you're counting on health, then any change chalk last year to injuries, rerun it like 24. Why is it so hard to understand? A spread offense requires a quarterback to read defenses. Even Purdy saw shit last year against Carolina and never saw the coverage on film. They want to see if Jalen can handle being the only high-priced guy on offense. The money shift is happening. And get this, you're right. It is happening. This guy, he knows more football than the coaches on the sidelines. Dude, you're not so bright. You can't even read. Then why the fuck are you here, guy? Why are you here? Thank you. You've got guys like Bill Cunnilingus that's in that market. Go listen to his ass. He'll blow your skirt up there, sunshine. You don't have to be here. This is not a military draft. You know? This is not a military draft, guy. You're not compelled to be here. You're asking YouTube chat to answer questions that no one knows. You're the host. Shouldn't your context be telling you what the offense will be? I've been telling you all offseason what it's going to be. Chaos. The quarterback is why we never run a spread offense. I know this. And when the season starts, don't be surprised if things don't look as people expected. They are here stills because they're Jalenites and they're in denial. Sills, don't forget, this scheme requires the use of the middle of the field. That's the Bermuda Triangle to Jalen Hurts. He doesn't go in there. Yeah. He flies around it. It's a great take, Bob. Hurts flies around the Bermuda Triangle, which is the middle of the field. And he's navigated well around it. Him and Nick. Sills, the genesis of Hurts' timing and ability to reading a defense goes back to his Alabama days. Now, putting him under center more requires him to read the D faster and get the ball out quicker. Correct. I mean, our fan base should know by now you're only get fired if you have a losing season. Until Jalen or Nick has that, they aren't going anywhere. You can cry as much as you want. That's the facts. Oh, I'm not crying. You will be by the end of the year. It's the Big Sills way if you don't agree with your dumbass. Actually, not true, dickhead. You're here every day. Nobody blocks you. And your stupidity and your idiotic takes. Nobody blocks you. Nobody gets blocked here unless you're a complete asshole. What do you think? We're like the WIP or the Fanatic shows? That screen call? You guys get to say whatever you want to me, which is kind of wild. You have more access to me than anyone in my 38 years. Nobody blocks you. We're the only one that gives you free speech on your opinions. You think you're getting on one of those radio stations and venting your take versus a host? Highly unlikely, guy. They're called screen callers. They're called screeners. Pick the phone up. They hang up on you if you don't agree with the host. I mean, that's why dicks like this are here. I just hope they implement rollouts. I'd like to see that. And more shorter, high percentage throws. Still, the reason is because we've seen winning by running. And last was the first time we couldn't win with just running. So now Nick wants to pivot. Okay? Like I said, it was a very simple question that many people, as you could see, got their panties in a bind already. I wanted to know what you thought Sean Mannion was going to do this 26th season to improve the offense. And you can't even answer that. Because you know why? Like you guys are saying. You don't know. Spread offense. What world is that? Utilize wide receiver 3. I think that's crazy. I think they're going to move Smitty around. Okay? Sills, it's a great question. Why do guys tune in to criticize? Don't understand it. Don't tune in, but don't ruin it for everyone else. Hey, Charles. I don't think their responses are bad. I actually think they're smart. You should run a spread offense. You should implement a screen game. And I've said this before, Charles. One of the reasons why Hurts will never throw for $4,000, unless they're having a losing season and he has to throw from behind, that's the only time he's going to throw for $4,000 is when they're losing. Because they don't have a screen game. They don't have a check down game. He's the only quarterback in pro football that doesn't have any of those. All those 4,000, 5,000 yard guys all have screen games. All have short intermediate passing games. The Eagles don't have it. And they don't throw across the middle of the field. That's why he can't throw for $4,000. It's not because he can't. It's because they don't have an entire playbook open for it. They're limited. Right hash, left hash. Some Goddard. You're never going to throw for $4,000 when you're limiting yourself like that so much. Every single play caller that will be in Philadelphia, as long as Nick Sirianni is the head coach and he picks these guys according to John, will have his hand tied behind his back. Unless they open up the passing game more. And until then, every coordinator you hire will have his hand tied behind his back. Because he has for 5 years. No middle, no screens, no checkdowns, very little tight end. That's why you don't have a high-powered passing game. It's not because Hurts can't do it. It's because he's not allowed to do it. So when you say, what's Mannion going to do? What do you mean, what is he going to do? What's Nick going to allow him to do? According to John, that's his hire. Well, if that's his hire and he's never called to play, how much patience do you think Nick's going to have if that thing farts around? He had 4 games of patience with Kellen Moore. And then they went to the run game. Think about that. Kellen Moore couldn't figure out. How come Kellen Moore didn't put a spread passing offense in? How come he didn't implement a screen game? How come he didn't utilize wide receiver 3? Sean Mannion's smarter than the head football coach of the New Orleans Saints? How come Kellen couldn't do it? But Mannion's going to? Let's get away from Kevin Patullo. How come you're telling me you think Sean Mannion's a more skilled guy than Kellen Moore? Is that what you're saying? Kellen Moore won the Super Bowl and is now the head coach. Tyler Shough looks pretty good. And you think that Sean Mannion's a better coach than Kellen Moore? You know what? On July 16th, I can't say he's not. Because I theoretically don't know. So Kellen couldn't figure it out in 24. Okay. So, yeah, and when the O-line couldn't dominate in 25, passing game couldn't do anything. Hurts will be tested for sure this season. I believe it will be forced to throw into traffic and we begin to trust in his ability. Okay? That's not a shitty take, Spin. That's not a shitty take. On July 16th, I can't dispute that. Dan, wouldn't you think of your coach preach about winning the turnover battle wins more games as a quarterback, you would avoid the middle? With a good running game? Yeah. Yes. Ramir, good take. Here, look at this. Dude, we don't know what Sean Mannion is going to be yet. But why are you acting like you know the Eagles are going to suck with Sean Mannion? Name me one first-year play caller you've had that's worked that Nick has hired, according to John, on offense. Name me one guy in Philadelphia as an offensive play caller that Nick has hired as a first-year play caller that's been good. Name me one. You don't got to name shit? Well, then don't ask me any questions. So there's another point about being under center. If Hurts can't understand the pre-snap read, Bob, what's the one thing that Hurts doesn't want to do the majority of the time? Turn his back to the defense. When you're under center, you got to turn your back to the defense. Do you know how many defensive coordinators are going to change post-snap coverages on Jalen Hurts now? Think about this, Bob. What would you do if you were a coordinator knowing that Hurts has really in 5 years been in shotgun the majority of the time? I'd like to know what that percentage is. What's the percentage of snaps Hurts has been in shotgun? What percentage of snaps has Jalen Hurts, been in shotgun since 2021? Since 2021, Hurts has approximately 75 to 80% of his offensive snaps have been in shotgun. So 80% of Jalen Hurts' snaps and his 2,400 passes have been in shotgun. And now you're going to put him under center. Well, I'll tell you what I would do if I was a coordinator. Knowing that number, I would do this. Every time he was under center and he turned his back, I would have post-snap coverage designs and change the coverages post-snap. Because I want to see how he overcomes that. Guy struggles as it is, spreading the ball around and reading defenses. Now he's going to turn his back in the passing game? Duke can't turn his back to the defense. He can't even keep his front to the defense. Come on, let's be honest here. 80% of Jalen Hurts' snaps since he's been a starting quarterback in Philadelphia have been in the shotgun. Now you're changing it? John said that they've been doing more under center. I would blitz every play, Sills. Jalen will never turn around and read it fast enough. Amen. I'm blitzing the shit out of that guy when he's in. If it's third down and he's under center, I'm bringing the house. Keep him contained. Seals, linebacker blitzes and then drop out. Also drop my edge to the flat, knowing Jalen will try to force it into the flat. Sills, how he knows in his heart 26 isn't the year. What pisses me off, he can't say anything. They will sell out till Thanksgiving. The people will dump their tickets for extra Christmas money. No. Listen, it's a good roster. It's a good roster, dude. Don't go there. The Eagles don't have a roster problem. They got a direction problem. Oh, hold on here. Get this. So everything you said he couldn't do, he did it, except throw for $4,000, which is overrated. I said he'd never have a top 10 or top 15 passing game. He had one time. Bro, I just pointed something out to you. And by the way, guy, he did. The team did. He didn't win the fucking Super Bowl. The team won. He won the Super Bowl. Good God. Dude, this isn't the heavyweight championship of the world or winning the Masters or the British Open. This is a team sport. It's part of the reason why I hope Manny gets Jalen's footwork more consistent. Reich said his footwork has regressed. I notice when Dan Sileo reads people's messages, he adds his own words when ask you it. Bro, thanks for being here. Since I mentioned this, but I don't think you covered it yet. But can you do Smitty versus opposing teams number one corners this year? We will do that, my friend. Here, speaking of Smitty, Danelle, let's go there. Since many of the people in here had a massive problem answering what Mannion's going to do with the offense. Man, you guys get butthurt very quick. It's quite wonderful, actually, and expected and predicted. Listen to this. Brady, Breeze, and Manning operated in the gun. I think they were just practicing under center, so when it's called, it's not new. Brady, Breeze, and Manning can read defenses. And they're not as athletic as Jalen. That's why they were in gun. Oh, that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. How can anyone answer a question that we don't know? Okay, fair enough. I know what Sean McVay's doing. I know what Andy Reid's doing. I have a pretty good idea what Ben Johnson's going to continue to do with Caleb Williams. Let's see. I know what Matt LaFleur is going to be doing with Jordan Love. I pretty much know exactly what Sean Payton's going to be doing with Bo Nix. There's no question marks what Joe Brady is going to be doing with Josh Allen. Okay? Sills, I agree the roster's good, but you keep saying 8 and 9. How do you fix a direction problem? Go back to doing what you were doing. If the Eagles lined up and started doing what they did a year ago, I just got through telling you, I feel more comfortable leaning on health being better than scheme being better. Ask yourself that question. What do you feel more comfortable and confident in? The Eagles being healthier or Sean Manny's play calling? Let's do this. Who do you feel more comfortable, or what do you feel more comfortable believing in 26? That the Eagles will be healthier in the O-line, which will result in a lot of these questions being answered, or Sean Mannion being a great play caller? What do you have more faith in? I have more faith in the O-line being healthier. By a lot. Right. So if I'm going to lean on health, I'm going to run it back. You'll win 11 games. And then who knows what happens in the playoffs. And I would say you'd win 11 games. The more we have talked about scheme cements my take even more. From 22 to 24, we never talked scheme. We talked dominance, rosters, blowing people off the ball, run game, O-line. Now we're talking about spread passing, screens, wide receiver 3. Like in the last 5 years, have we ever talked about that being an essential part on changing the offense around? No. You lined up and knocked people off the ball. Plain and simple. Under center will be more first down, so that way everything will look the same and be unpredictable. Hey, Trig, I don't believe that Hurts is going to be efficient at under center. What would make me believe that when 80% of his snaps have been in shotgun? Why are you... Now, look, I think there's a sense that Jalen gets the benefit of the doubt because of the success, and I happen to agree with that. So to sit here on July 16th, it's not a Hurts conversation. That's more on Nick. So Nick now believes that under center is a better way for Jalen to operate? Based on what? 20% of the snaps? So Nick's changing the offense and putting him more under center, where 20% of the time he was. And they're going to try to create more balance with that? Why? Unless the quarterback, they don't plan on running him. You understand when you put Hurts under center, you're taking the quarterback's run game away. You understand that. Him being under center, you're taking his run game away. And that other option for him to be able to take off. When you're in shotgun, you can pick and choose your moments to run. When you're under center, you've got to turn your back to the defense. You've got to get to your 7. You've got to plant and read and have an idea, preset snaps, your point, and you got to know where pressure's coming from. And you had to set the line protection. All of that is there for him. And that's on Sean Mannion. All right. So let's get to another topic. What offensive player on the Eagles, other than Devontae Smith, are you going to get explosion plays from in the passing game? What other Eagle, other than Devontae Smith, are you going to get explosion plays in the passing game? Goddard. So Goddard. Okay. Get this. Here we go, the passing game. This is the number one topic in Philly, dickhead. It's your health and the changing in the passing game. Again, this is not a military enlistment here. So Goddard, let's take a look at Goddard and what Dallas Goedert. So Dallas Goedert's going to be your second explosion player in your offense. Let's take a look at that. So last year, Dallas Goedert, 60, 42. So Dallas Goedert in the last 2 years has had 102 receptions. Basically 50 catches. What's the number, Ben? 718 for 1,087 yards. So 102 catches for 1,087. And how many TDs? Last year was awesome. He had 13. He had 11. So it's 13. So Dallas Goedert is going to be the explosion guy other than Devontae Smith in your passing game. Okay. And again, that's if he's healthy. How many games has he played? Let's double check that. Dallas Goedert has played 25 games in 2 years. 24, he missed 7. This last year, I think he missed 1. And they sat him, I believe. So he's in the last 2 years really probably missed 9 games or 8 games. And that's going to be your explosion, your second most important player in Sean Mannion's passing game. Is that right? All the dummies that come here every day and complain about the topics obviously don't realize it's the offseason. Dude, Stowers could be a pleasant surprise, okay? So a rookie, all right? So you think a rookie. Oh, by the way, some of you don't like the topics because some of you don't like the questions because you don't have answers to them. Seals, finding another player for explosion planes will be determined on who Jalen Hurts can establish a good relationship with, okay? It will also rely on how Mannion schemes players into open spaces. Seals, you think Stowers could see playing time with Goedert not able to stay healthy? I don't know how you're going to line him up. I told you, I think you got to play him from the first day you signed him. I think you got to put him in a position like Kyle Pitts, off ball. You can't put him in a position where he's going to be with a defensive end or an edge rusher. I think he'll crush him. He's not a physical football player. Stowers is not physical. He wasn't physical at Vanderbilt. There were games he didn't start. So you're going to have to play that kid off ball like they do in Atlanta with Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts doesn't line up on the strong side. Dan Mullen said that when he came out of Florida, that with Pitts, you got to put him in open space. Let him run around in open space. Because if you have a defensive end chipping him, they'll wear his ass out. See here. This is always one. Jalen's had the same offensive coordinator for 5 years. It's Nick Sirianni. So most explosion plays in the West Coast offense come through yak on crossing patterns. We don't run crossing patterns. I know, Bob. The big question going in with this year coming up is going to be, who's going to be that second guy? Because you don't have AJ here. You know, I wrote this down too with AJ. What do you think is going to be the storyline where with this at the end of the year? You think AJ Brown is going to help New England more? Or do you think he's going to have hurt the Eagle offense more? Or vice versa? Him not being here help the offense? And him go up to New England and hurt the Patriots? Could change it up any way you want. What's the impact that Hurts has, or excuse me, that AJ has on both New England and Philly? Is it going to be positive? Could be positive in both. You could have positive in Philly, no drama. Hey, it's not a one-sided question. Okay? The second guy will be 3 guys. Well, then you don't have a guy like you've had in the last 4 years. All right. So your second guy is going to be a committee. All right. Patriots will benefit greatly. Eagles will suffer proportionately. You know what? You have to be determined for me on the Eagles and what AJ's absence will be. Because if they can run the football, folks, and their O-line is healthy, I don't think it'll matter who's out there. And if their O-line is not, then it will matter. But if the Eagles get back to health in the O-line and Barkley's hitting his head on the goalpost again, I don't care who you have out there. I'm just confused. You ask us questions we can't answer. So who gets the credit for all the wins we have? Hold on. What do you mean you can't answer? Last 4 years, nobody would debate you had the most talent in your offensive huddle. And you could argue that you had the best wide receiver duo. Nobody debated that you had the best O-line. Nobody debated that you had one of the greatest defensive coordinators. Now all that shit's up for debate. What do you mean you can't? Hey, I don't need questions answered about Andy Reid or Sean McVay or Matt LaFleur or Kyle. I don't need any questions. Those places comes down to player production and situational play calling. It will come down to that. Shanahan has been criticized for it. McVay's been criticized for it. Andy Reid was criticized for it when he was in Philadelphia. Let's not forget something here. Coaches evolve too. Andy Reid's, you help me out, Philly. What was Andy Reid's biggest complaint by Eagle fans when he was the head coach in Philly? What was the biggest knock against him in Philadelphia? What did people say about Andy Reid in Philly? Time management, clock management, time management, too conservative, right? All of that. Well, he gets Mahomes. He gets a quarterback that's got more confidence than McNabb and more skilled. Plus, he's better. All of that evolves too. Let's not forget something. Sean McVay's the second youngest coach in pro football. And he's been a head coach 10 years. He's still the second youngest head coach. He just turned 40. You got quarterbacks and players in this league older than him. Kyle Shanahan, he's got to figure it out. The problem with Kyle Shanahan relies too much on the passing game. They need more of a running game, like his dad had at the end of Elway's career when they had Terrell Davis. Okay. And that's the entire issue we had with KP. Dude had zero situational awareness. I was told today Nick made that hire. I didn't blame Jalen for that. That's Nick. Hey, I didn't hire him. Nick hired his ass. Hey, dude, blame Jalen? I blame Jalen for going to the line of scrimmage and running the fucking play and not audibling out of it. Yeah, the quarterback is the last to see the guys lined up in front of him. When the headset goes off with 15 seconds, you can't change a play? Or you're just going to continue to run into a wall? They run a shitty play for you at the end of the game against the Niners. You're going to run it anyway? That's not being good in the pocket. That's not understanding how to read a defense. If you go to the line of scrimmage and you know and you blame the guy, I didn't call for Verts, they did, and you run it anyway, you're an accomplice in the play. How are you not? You're all involved in it. Still speaking of Kyle Pitts, do you know who coached him at Florida? It was Brian Johnson. Yeah, he was the OC there with Dan Mullen. Nick is getting more experience, honestly. I like Nick for a head coach and Jalen as quarterback one. Keep it going, guys. Best Eagles football since I've been a fan over 35 years. Then why wouldn't you continue to do what you're doing? Sirianni has held this team from winning multiple Super Bowls because he sucks as a game day coach. He can't adjust for shit. Don't tell people in Philadelphia that side on his side with that. That's my biggest. Dude, every single time you need an answer, when there's tough times, he's a front runner. When things are going great, he's wonderful. When shit starts going sideways, you fired Desai NC. Did he make that call too? They were 10-1 when they fired Sean Desai. Here, let me show you something. When did Nick fire Sean Desai? In season. When did Nick Sirianni fire Sean Desai? In season. December 17th. So let's take a look at the teams that they had beaten with Desai as the coordinator all the way up until December 17th. This was Nick's call, right? Let's see what the team was, too, when he made that call to fire. When he made that call to fire Desai, that's what people say. Eagles year to year. So that was 23? Okay, 23. 2023, Philadelphia Eagles. Okay. So you started the year out. So December 17th, he was fired for the Seahawks game because he took his responsibilities away. And prior to that, his defense had beaten the Vikings, who were in the playoffs, the Buccaneers, the Rams, the Dolphins, the Cowboys, the Chiefs, and the Bills. They were 10-1. Then they lost 2. They lost to the 49ers, and they lost to the Cowboys. They were 10-3 when they fired his ass. And after December 18th, they lost 1, 2, 3, 4. They were 1-4. Who made that call? I like that Dan looks up these things, but I get lost in the larger point. He just goes down these I'm not sure what you can't follow. Look, dude, I know some of these things get a little complex because you look at it through the lens of a fan. I look at it at the lens of being in a room with these guys. So let me know if I need to dummy it down. And I don't mean that as an insult to you. But let me just, I'll make it simpler for you to follow along. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. College football is going to cause it problems for the NFL coaches. For the NFL, college coaches have to recruit and recruit again because of the portal. Act as politicians to the boosters, coach a team, and develop players. On top of that will be the demise of the NFL. Yeah, because, Kim, what you can't do is this. These kids that are going into the portal, these kids are not getting fundamentally coached. They're not being taught technique. They're not being taught to compete. They're not being taught, like when you stay and you've got veteran guys in front of you, and veteran guys are teaching you the position. And you could see in the meetings when you have great players and you stay in there. Look at Vinny Testaverde. Vinny Testaverde sat behind Jim Kelly and Bernie Kosar. And he learned how to play the quarterback position. You think that helped him? Of course it helped him. Absolutely. And when you got all these guys running through the portal, you don't have that dynamic any longer. Okay? I mean, you just don't. You don't have that fundamental on being able to teach that. There's no time for them to develop anymore. Correct. You don't. That's why you're getting more misses at multiple positions. You see a kid come into college, all of a sudden he goes into the NFL, and you're like, how come the guy's not like, look at Ty Robinson. Ty Robinson is not developed. And I said that last year. He was so poorly coached that when I'm hearing him talking about getting off blocks, engaging, not using his hands, his feet are slow, all of that, that's poor coaching. That's poor player development. Will it be McKee or Dalton by the bye week? No way. No way. I am never, and I will never say 2026, bench Jalen Hurts. You will never hear me say that. That guy deserves every opportunity to play the 26th season. And I'm going to put his ass out there come hell or high water. Those people are delusional. Howard Dynasty is the exception. The team's success is the last 5 years is fantastic. The best era we've ever had. Correct. They just do it differently, dude. You know what's funny? I heard John say this, that's old school thinking when it comes to, and I heard Zander. Zander's going to join us in a couple minutes. And Zander said it too. Well, that's old style thinking. Well, let's take a look at the teams that believe in a head coach having a lot of say. Okay? Let's just take a look at some of the coaches here. Dude, there's two dudes in Los Angeles. It's Sean McVay and Les Snead. And there ain't nobody else making decisions. Nobody's making decisions over those two dudes. It's their ball and wax. Andy Reid, Brett Veach, and Andy Reid, they make those fucking decisions. Nobody else parachutes in. Not one guy is more important than the other. Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur, Brian Gutekunst has no power over him. Matt LaFleur runs that operation. Kyle Shanahan runs that entire football team. And John Lynch works for him. All the winning programs have old school mentality. Buck stops here. You're accountable. The less voices in the room, the more the head coach and the GM are in the firing squad. You see, what the Eagles have is a fail-safe. You know what that is? Offense sucks. Brian Johnson, Sean Desai, KP, those are your scapegoats. There's no scapegoats in LA. There's no scapegoats in Kansas City. There's no scapegoats. They did that in San Francisco to Steve Wilkes, which was stupid, and everyone knew it. It was Shanahan who fucked that Super Bowl up against the Chiefs with that stupid play calling he had in the overtime. That was him. And Steve Wilkes had given them the lead going into that overtime. If they didn't have the overtime rules, the 49ers win that Super Bowl. But they did. And they tried blaming Steve Wilkes on that shit. That's a poor move by Shanahan. That was their scapegoat. I mean, every organization, nobody wants to take accountability for failure. Okay, when you fail at something, well, you didn't get the job done. So look at Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles had a horrible defense last year. It was terrible. Who'd they blame? Josh Grizzard. By the way, I like the hire the Eagles made with Josh Grizzard. I never thought Josh Grizzard was a problem in Tampa last year. I thought it was injuries in the O-line. The wide receivers all were banged up. Mike Evans himself. And the quarterback admitted in that Netflix thing he got banged up all year. How's that Josh Grizzard? How is that Josh Grizzard? I don't care if you have a high school coach. When you have the whole halves of play without a completion, someone's blame got to go to the quarter. Oh, absolutely, it goes to the quarterback. Whoever said Hurts is consistent? By the way, I thought something that Jeremy Fowler said was pretty interesting about Jalen. When they were doing that survey of all the quarterbacks in the NFL, that dude's name only showed up on 15% of the ballots. Nobody respects your quarterback's skill. They respect your quarterback's leadership and his intangibles. That's the truth. Here's a hard conversation for Jalenites. Nobody in the league respects your guy's ability. They respect his intangibles. And what he does in that system, Hurts is a system quarterback. He is a system quarterback that Nick Sirianni developed. Nobody in the NFL thinks anything of his skill. 15% of all GMs and executives surveyed, 50% of those guys had him on a ballot and even thought enough to put him on there. That doesn't speak highly of the guy. That doesn't say a lot about how people see him. You guys always talk to me about like market value. What market value? When you got 90 or 95% of the league or 85% of the league doesn't think shit of the guy. That's not me saying that. That's those guys making comments about, hey, so when they were given a survey, like that NBA survey every year, and you put down 25 quarterbacks, 85% of the executives and GMs didn't put Hurts' name in the top 25? That's wild. I can't believe that. I can't believe that. Look at this guy. I'm certain that Jalen hit on his dude's wife. And bro, why are you upset what NFL people are saying about your quarterback? And how are you putting that on me? Because the league says that about your quarterback? You get butthurt like this? That's wild. That's really wild. That he'll insult me and my family because of NFL executives not thinking highly of your quarterback and Philly's skill. That's really wild. I mean, that's crazy that somebody would get like this guy here so upset over that he would go and insult somebody's wife because the NFL executives, 85% of them don't think anything of the skill of the quarterback. You see what I'm talking about? Dude, that doesn't bug me. I don't care. My wife has seen all that shit before. It's not really a big thing, and I don't care. However, look at the low IQ thinking that when somebody says something, and like we started the program off, Sam Darnold's the winningest quarterback percentage-wise since 22. You don't have to be special at that position. I don't know why you get bent out of shape like that. I don't know why the Eagle fans would be butthurt for going to 2 Super Bowls. No offense, Dan Sileo. I'm a Cowboy fan. I don't know either. Randy, you got a quarterback that helped get you to a Super Bowl. I agree with that. But when you start saying he's not one of the top guys in the league, as a skill, and executives in the NFL say the same thing, they don't want to believe it. And by the way, I think guys like that are awesome. Sills. Hey, LJ back again? Dude, you talk about a weird dude. That's like the 70th different handle that guy has. You talk about weird. Sills, 2016, 19 and 23, all the years that Shanahan fucked off the Super Bowl by doing way too... Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, dude, Kyle Shanahan, 2 minutes, same thing with Sean McVay. I'm completely in agreement. Those guys have questions to be asked. If I was covering the 49ers, my biggest question mark about Kyle Shanahan, dude, you could draw up all the plays. You can evaluate all the great players. You can do all that stuff. But when it comes to 2-minute drills, you got the Andy Reid Philadelphia disease. The reason why they're butthurt is because deep down they know another quarterback can do what he did that season. Hey, Brandon, let me ask you this, Brandon. Again, only simple questions. You don't find that weird that 15% of the NFL executives in the league even thought enough to put his name, even involved in that survey? You don't find that to be like wild? A 2-time Super Bowl participant and a winner? And here's the truth. They love the kid's intangibles. They don't like his skill. And that's so hard for people to understand. Or maybe more so than anything, accept. $253 million, we said yesterday. You better be 50-18. What do you think Kansas City spends on their offense? $17 million for what? 14 million for Kelsey. Creed has, I think, a $20 million deal, and Mahomes. Hey, and I'll say it one more time here, okay? There's no doubt that the biggest conversation, hey, what do you think they're talking about in Buffalo right now? Hey, dude, you got to play big in big games. You know what they're saying in Baltimore? Hey, Lamar, if not now, when? You know what they're saying in Los Angeles with Herbert? Can't be issues with coaching anymore. You got the great coaches. You got 2 head football coaches helping you. All of that is true. It's not just the Hurts thing. Every mark. How about Caleb Williams? Can't be 55%, son. And repeat as division champions in the NFC North. All right. So, without further ado, I heard it today. So I heard John say that Nick makes all the hires and hires all the assistant coaches. And before we bring Jalen in, I asked you guys this simple question. I asked you this. How is Sean Mannion going to make the Eagles' offensive passing game better? And you know what you guys said? Spread passing game, a screen game, and utilizing wide receiver 3. And then I turned around and said, well, if Nick makes all the hires, why hasn't he hired a coach to address all those 3 things that are going to make the offense better? Nobody can answer that. So let's see if Big Z can answer that. Without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend. He joins us now for Birds 365. He is my man, Big Z. Zander Krause joins us now. How you doing, Big?
What's up, Big Sills? How you doing, my friend?
I am doing. We are 12 days out, brother.
I am ecstatic. I am elated. I am super pumped for this football season, Sills. Not only is the excitement in the air from football coming back, but I think there's a lot of questions in both a good way and the potential, for a bad way with the Philadelphia Eagles, which is an exciting thing, especially obviously as talk show hosts covering the football team. But as fans, watching how good this team has been, will they continue that streak with the turnover, with the unknown, with the loss of A.J. Brown, with the young coordinator, again, at offense, with Jalen Hurts, kind of future in limbo right now. I think there's a lot of excitement going into the year.
And I heard you today, by the way, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I heard you today with all of these questions here. And first and foremost, do you believe John when he says that Nick makes all the hires, assistant coaching wise?
I think Nick makes most of the hires, yeah. I don't think it's as clear-cut as, Nick controls every part of the process. But I think Nick does, for the most part, choose who he wants to hire. But like you'll point out, I'm sure he's got to get approval. You know what I mean? I don't think he can say, I want this guy. And if he does want somebody that they don't want, I think that's where they kind of put him on that island. All right, that's what felt like to me with Patullo. You can get your guy, but when it goes to shit, you're going to have to be the one to fall on the sword. And it felt like they did that with him when he got fired. So I think it's a little bit of everything, but I think Nick, for the most part, has a big say in it.
You think he hired Vic Fangio?
That one's a little different. I mean, this organization has had an affinity for Vic Fangio for a long time. They tried to hire him the year prior. I mean, I'm sure Nick was certainly on board with that decision. Why would you not be, right? But I don't think that was Nick on an island saying, hey, let's go get Vic Fangio. I think everybody wanted Vic Fangio.
So when they went from Tracy Rocker to Clint Hurt, that was Nick's decision?
Do you think that was Nick, or do you think that was more collaborative with Vic? I don't get the sense that those type of hires are Howie.
Oh, I'm not saying, hang on. I'm asking you about Nick. You think Nick hired Bobby King?
Yeah, I think that was probably more a collaboration with Vic. But remember, Vic is a little bit of an extreme example from a sense of he's such an experienced defensive mind. He's been through so much. Like, you would almost be a fool if you're Nick Sirianni as a 5-year coach to not tap into Vic Fangio, who's been a 40-year coach. You know what I mean? Like, so I think there's –
I don't disagree.
You don't, or you do disagree?
I don't disagree with what you're saying.
Right. So I think it was probably a little bit more Vic there. But
okay.
Like I'll ask you, Parks, Frazier, those hires I think are Nick.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
How can you go from Bobby King, Clint Hurt, and Vic Fangio on one side of the ball to Kevin Patullo, Brian Johnson, and Parks Frazier? I mean, don't you see what's happened here? They've given Nick, you're right. Nick was collaborative when it came to hiring Vic. Vic fills in the pieces there. Vic is the guy who's going to elevate.
I think you're probably right about that. I mean, I think
because look at the hires. The hires don't add up. You hire completely qualified guys on defense, and then you turn around on the other side, questionable hires. So that would mean to think that Nick has more say in the hirings of the offensive coordinator, right?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Remember, he was an offensive backgrounded head coach.
He was. Okay.
You know, like for example, in LA, is Sean McVay picking the defensive
No.
assistants? Probably not, right?
No, he's picking Chris Shula, and
who's
Chris
doing the
Shula's
rest?
filling in the blanks.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, well then that leads me to this then. So if Nick is making all the hires, and I asked this simple question again about Mannion in the upcoming offense, how is Sean Mannion going to make the Eagles' offensive passing attack better this year? I asked the people this. They said they're going to put a spread passing game. There's going to be more screens, and they're going to utilize wide receiver 3. Those 3 things seem to be the big response. Well, in 5 years, if Nick makes all these hires, how come Nick hasn't implemented any one of these 3 things in the Eagle passing game? There's no spread game. There's no screen game. I looked it up. And Jalen Hurts is 2,400 passing attempts. He's had 200 screen passes.
Well, that's the player, Sills. In my opinion, that's the player.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, and here's where it breaks.
How come they haven't utilized wide receiver 3?
Here's where it breaks. I get where you're going, but this is where it becomes obvious to me. Kellen Moore. If you hire Kellen Moore and you don't implement any of those things, then you're never gonna. And that to me means they're building it more around the skill set of the player as opposed to what Nick might want to do or what any of the offensive coaches want to do. Because why is Kellen, before he comes here, he runs all of those things at a high level. And then after he leaves here, he goes to New Orleans as the head coach and has a first-year quarterback in Tyler Shuck doing all those things again. So I think in Philadelphia, it's been tailored around the skill set of the player. And whether that is right or wrong, I guess one could argue. I think it's right because I don't think you want to put the player in a bad position. And this is the first time it looks like they're, I guess the second time, because you could argue in the offseason leading into Kellen. Remember, that was my first offseason on air. I remember telling you, pro style offense is coming, all, you know what I mean? And then it didn't happen. So I think they're right to build around the player. But I think the player's skill sets also, and I think we've talked about this before, where I've given Nick not a pass, but more of a understanding as to why the offense hasn't been prolific. They're not in a position to run offense like some of these other great offensive minds are. They're just not. It's not the skill set of their players.
So Nick built this skill set. So Nick built this skill set offense for Jalen.
To some extent. I mean, that's why they went away from what Kellen wanted to do after 4 weeks, 7 turnovers and a 2-2 start.
So Nick is responsible for the way the offense is run for the last 5 years, correct?
I think that's he has to fall on that sword. Absolutely. Yep.
Well, I'm okay to fall on that sword with 2 Super Bowl appearances.
I am too. But the offense, I mean, look, the offense has its problems. So, I get where you're coming from. But
so
I think to me, it's coach and quarterback, Sills. That's who it is. That's where it lies.
Who is the one making the call then to change from this?
So it's either Nick Sirianni trying to evolve because there's nowhere else to go.
So if you own a company, Zander, and you have a game plan that's winning for you, and you're growing, and you're winning, and you're always in the conversation as being one of the top companies in the country, you're going to have your CEO come to you and go, "Hey, we're going to do something completely different this coming season."
Well, if the competition was on my ass and I had my worst year yet, and somebody came and presented to me, "Hey, man, our old tricks aren't going to work as well into the future. We need to try and evolve." That's a fair conversation.
Yeah, but I thought last year was injuries, according to people. Don't you feel more comfortable with this? Don't you feel more comfortable with this? I feel more comfortable on betting on the team being healthier than Sean Mannion being the next Bill Walsh. Don't you?
Yeah.
Right? I feel more comfortable that the O-line's going to be healthier. Barkley's going to be more prolific. And I don't care who wide receiver 2 is. If the O-line is good, Z, you're winning ball games.
Look, I mean, this comment right here is fantastic. VSVA, brother, thanks for being here. He or she, I don't know what you says this. I guarantee Mannion explained his new offense would improve the run game, use the O-line athleticism better, and his passing concepts would help the passing game when the running attack is stalled. I think that's exactly what Mannion ran on.
And
I don't think he came in and said to Nick Sirianni, who, by the way, this is where people act like Nick is like this. Nick knows what he has. Nick watches Jalen Hurts more than any of us have watched Jalen Hurts. He sees him in practice. He sees him in every mode. He saw him with Kellen, with Brian, with Shane, with Kevin. He's seen him in every setting. So you're not going to tell Nick, hey, man, I'm going to turn Jalen Hurts into Tom Brady. Nick's not buying that. I think he said, I'm going to get back that. I'm going to make that running game thrive. We're going to create ways to put that offensive line in better positions. And with that, we'll create a better passing attack. I think that's probably exactly what Sean Mannion vouched, and Nick probably bought it.
Rasputin, you're very athletic at the tackle position.
Yeah, Landon is pretty. I mean, he's hurt, and Cam is pretty athletic, dude.
Yes.
I mean, if he's injured, he's not, but Cam is a pretty athletic center.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think this system will benefit Steen more because you know why? It's more of a finesse offense.
Yeah, and the only one I think,
and he's the finesse player.
Yeah, to Rasputin's point, the only one I think that really doesn't fit that is actually Landon. Yeah, I mean he's a mauler, he's a bruiser. Yeah. So.
What did you make of the fact that when the executives were asked about quarterbacks in this league, 85% of the executives and general managers in this league didn't really think highly of Hurts as a skill set. 50% of those guys, because I heard that on a podcast, Fowler was where? Dan Patrick?
Maybe, I'm not sure. He has been doing the rounds, though. He's been talking.
And I was like, wow. So 85% of the executives in this league love Jalen Hurts' intangibles, but they're not really high on his skill. What'd you make of that?
Well, it's kind of been the story of Jalen Hurts' career. I mean,
going back to Bama, right?
Going back, yeah, forever. And I think to his credit, there's been moments and spots where he's made people pay. I remember listening to Steve Spagnuolo on a podcast after they got annihilated by the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and he said, "My entire plan was to just make Jalen beat me through the air." And to his credit, he did. And so I think the problem with Hurts isn't as much that he can never do it. It's that when it becomes your consistent method of attack or your primary method of winning games for the Eagles offense, that's where things haven't flown great or haven't worked well over the course of time. But in moments, Hurts is great. I mean, that 20, I bring it up all the time. 22 was decades ago at this point in football terms, but that was the best game I ever seen him play. He threw that ball like as good as any quarterback can throw the football. But consistently, he hasn't done that. And that's where I think the problems lie. But that's kind of been the story of his career. I mean, and in many ways, I don't think Jalen would change that because there's a lot of players who have great skill set and maybe are missing the ingredient of the intangibles that Jalen has. And that's crippled them in their career, maybe just as much as some of Jalen's skill sets have hurt him in his career. So it's one of those things that, everybody's different. Everybody's got a unique skill set. I think Hurts has served him well. I think he is going to have to show more consistency in other areas of his game that he hasn't to this point.
Let me ask you another one here. Outside of Devontae in your offensive passing game coming up this year, what other player in your huddle is going to give you explosion plays?
I would like to think Goddard has an opportunity. I mean, when I said Goddard declined last year, it really wasn't as much in the passing game. It was more in the run blocking duel.
Are you basing this on Mannion working with Tucker Kraft?
I'm basing it on Mannion understanding that if you're going to be better in the passing game, you're going to have to spread the ball to your playmakers. And without AJ Brown,
background, Kraft.
I mean, think about it. Who's the second best pass catcher on the football team?
It's Goddard.
It's Dallas Goddard. So if you're not creating a game plan around that player when you're throwing the football, you're not doing a good job as a head coach. So I think some of it is based on that. And the other part of it is you got to use the middle of the field. I've been saying this, I know people sometimes have a hard time. I don't know why. They got to use the middle of the field. Dude, so as you know this, the NFL defenses are fucking good, man. You could take the worst defense in the league. It's filled with great football players, the best of the best, And if you don't keep them guessing, if you don't use every area of the field where they give you an opening, they're going to win. So I think the Eagles have to use the middle of the field more. And if Jalen's not comfortable with layered throws over the middle, then give them easy throws. Give them dumps to Dallas Goedert. Give them, short hitch routes. Give them simple things over the middle where you can use Dallas Goedert's skill set. But it's Devontae and Goddard. And then Sills, the rest is optimism. It's hope. You're hoping that Mekhi Lemon has a great rookie season. You're hoping that Dontavian Wicks, is a good player for this team. You're hoping that you can get some flashes from Hollywood Brown. And then Saquon Barkley, obviously, I think Saquon Barkley is still, an elite football player. So how can you utilize him, more with this offense? I think that's the next one.
So outside of Devontae, you're expecting explosion plays from Goddard?
Yeah.
Wick?
I mean, I don't want you to overstate it. I'm not expecting a world beater here. I mean,
can you count on him to be there?
I mean,
Goddard goes down. And he has. So here, I'm just saying, I think that explosion second dude, boy, that's going to be a storyline to watch. I got another one for you here that we looked up. Do you know that Jalen Hurts in his time since the starting quarterback for the Eagles in 2021 has operated in the shotgun 80% of the time? And now you're going to put him under center and you're going to turn his back to the defense? Boy, that's quite – John says too, and I've listened to you guys talk, he says that's really what they're working on a lot more under center. So he's worked 80% of the time that he's been in Philly at a shotgun. And now you're going to put him under center where he turns his back on those defenses. And you just got through saying those defenses are pretty good.
Yeah, they are good.
I mean, you got a problem with that?
I mean, I don't know what other solutions are there? Like, look, football can be a complex game, but football can also be a simple game.
The Eagles made it simple from 2022. Here's where you guys got really spoiled. In 2022 to 2024, you didn't have to overthink your game. You beat people up.
Right.
You didn't have to run exotic schemes and screens and middle screen.
And look, that deteriorated the O-line much quicker than, an alternative style of play would have. So
and
they got to live with that now.
Don't have dynasties. That's why you don't see a shitload of dynasties in this league.
Right.
I mean, putting him 80% starting to put him more under center. If I'm a coordinator, I'm blitzing that guy every fucking time I can.
Yeah.
I'm sending the house on the guy.
Until he proves that that makes you pay. But remember, Hurts has been pretty good against the blitz, actually. I mean, if I remember correctly, I thought that was
but again, when he had a shotgun.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. That's going to be where Mannion has to coach him up and put him in the right spots, because all these people in here, man, and boy, we got a lot of them who just think every coach that comes through Philadelphia sucks ass. I don't understand these people. They will go to every length. I mean, how many more coaches can we go through? Like, guys, at the end of the day, there's a skill set. You have to work around the skill set. The skill set in this realm does not create the most explosive, pretty, high-powered, high-octane offenses. It just doesn't. If you're expecting that from a coach, I have bad news for you. You're never going to see it in Philly with this player, with this quarterback. It's okay. They've been to 2 fucking Super Bowls. It's okay. But don't expect, the baker to make you Italian pasta. You're going to get a cake. Go to the bakery for a cake. You know, go get a cannoli at the counter and shut the fuck up. Holy moly.
Here's another one here for you. You believe Vic Fangio has enough at edge?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think Grenard's an upgrade. I think Nolan and J-Lux are – I think J-Lux is an improving player, and I think Nolan is a good all-around player to me. He hasn't become what you would want a first-round pick to become, but that doesn't mean he's not a good player. I think he's a good three-down edge, actually, pretty good against the run. So, and then can you get a little splash potentially from a guy, you know, Arnold Ebiketie or who's the dude that just signed that was with the Bills?
Epinesa?
Yeah, Epinesa, AJ Epinesa, something like that. I mean, I think they have enough. I mean, remember, Sills, we did watch this team win a Super Bowl running a three-man rotation at edge, you know.
Great.
So, and that was when Nolan, I believe, was a rookie.
And who were the three guys?
Sweat, Nolan, and who was the third?
Who did you have out there? It was Sweat, Nolan, and
Was it Jalix? No.
it was Jalix. Because Smith was hurt.
Was it?
Yeah. It was Hunt.
Yeah, because Bryce Huff was benched and Brandon Graham didn't come back until the end.
Nope.
It was Hunt. All right.
You think they're disappointed in Nolan Smith?
I don't think they're disappointed. I don't think they're going to give him an extended contract. So I guess maybe that's
off. They gave him a 5th-year option. I mean,
yeah. So I think, I think, you know, again, it's like right in the middle. You know, you're not pissed, but you're also not like great draft pick. You know, they're not giving him a second. I don't think they're going to give him a second unless he has a huge year. I mean, if he has a huge year, they'll pay him probably.
Or he takes
the biggest concern on him is the health.
You know what I would do if I were him? I'd sign a lesser deal here. I want to be around
stay with
Vic.
Vic. Yeah,
stay with Vic.
I hear you.
Why spend? What are you going to do? Go to Tennessee, sign for $2 million more, and be fired in what? 10 months?
Yeah, right.
I'm not doing that. I'm trying to extend my career right now. I'm staying around that coach because that coach likes me. I think we've kind of hit on this again, but I want to get your final thought going into camp. 12 days out now. So you believe you've upgraded at cornerback 2 from what you had a year ago?
I do. Absolutely. I mean, Adoree turned it on in the second half of the year, but I think Tariq Woolen is a better player. I mean, he had some votes in that Fowler list to be a top 10.
I saw it.
I think that's an upgrade.
I think that's a respect for the ability.
Right. And let me ask you this. If there's one coach you feel as though can get the ability out of him, is it Vic? It is to me. Now, there's no Christian Parker now, so maybe that's a loss in the secondary.
I think Vic's got that covered.
That's what I mean. I feel as though.
Yeah, but here's my.
So no coincidence. So the Eagles drafted 2 secondary players, Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, and both have put in unreal starts to their career. They're all pros their second year in the league. No coincidence there that Vic Fangio is the defensive coach.
My question is that you go from Gardner Johnson, where you had a problem with his character, pausing on character with Carter, and if this corner has a really great year, is he part of your future?
It's hard to say, dude. I mean, if for whatever reason Jalen Carter doesn't play himself into another contract, maybe, but paying 3 corners. So remember, Quinyon and Cooper got to get paid next summer.
So hear me out here. Would you rather if Tariq Woolen puts in a Pro Bowl year like James Bradbury did, and Hunt evolves into being that edge, would you rather have a Pro Bowl corner and an up-and-coming edge
Yeah.
rusher,
Hmm.
and pay those two guys, not league money, like top-end money, and let Carter walk and keep a Moro Jomo. I heard John say it today on your show. Jomo's gone.
I
Wouldn't you
know.
rather keep Moro Jomo if Tariq Woolen plays like everyone thinks he's going to and Hunt evolves? You're going to let maybe two of those guys go, like Woolen and Moro Jomo, to sign Jalen Carter?
Fair point. I mean, I just, you think they're going to pay 3 corners?
I know.
That's why I'm like, I
Yeah,
get
but
what you're saying.
I don't like losing all these.
Like you're
players.
looking at it like you can create a better a better overall
Better
defense,
unit.
a better unit. Oof.
Isn't it about the unit?
It should be. But, look, this is pro football, Sills. You get it, man. It ain't
Yeah.
all meritocracy all the time. It's just not. So, I don't know. That's a tough one to answer. I get where you're coming from, though. What you're laying out does sound pretty good to me.
And at the end of the day here, you're talking about, again, letting two dudes roll out. Pretty soon you're going to be putting a Pro Bowl list together of a defense that you've had over the last 2.5 years. They really got some tough decisions to make, man. Wow. Do they? And get this, the better they do, the tougher the decisions, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. Well, look, this is one of the and you obviously live with these no matter what. I mean, you want this, but when you draft as good as the Eagles have, this is one of the built-in struggles that come with that. You got to make
draft
tough decisions
later as well as they have.
Well,
Let me
that's
tell you
true.
something.
But
Let me tell you.
I mean, outside of Nolan Smith, they've been pretty good lately.
Let me hook you up on something here with dude, rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5, they have been great. They have been great. 2, 3, 4, and 5, finding dudes. Mulata's a 7th rounder. Hey, have you ever seen 2 Pro Bowl type players that were 7th rounders starting in your front 22? Moro Jomo and Jordan Mailata are 2 7th-round
That's
picks.
pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing.
That is that's unbelievable.
You know something you said to me the other day that's been fucking ringing in my head? Did Milton Williams benefit more from Jalen Carter, or did Jalen Carter benefit more from Milton Williams? Now, we only have 1 year with them apart. And Milton obviously had a phenomenal year, and Jalen Carter didn't. Now, is it injuries? Is it not? I thought that was an interesting point by you.
Well, here's something. I'll give you something in my world. So when I played with this guy, Danny Stubbs, who actually played in the Philadelphia Eagle uniform for a little bit, Jerome played right tackle. I played left tackle. Stubbs played left end. He was on my flank. He had 17 sacks. 17 sacks, counting the bowl game. He had 18 and a half sacks in 12 games. He had 18 and a half sacks. I left. He had 8. And I did all the dirty work next to him. See, I think Milton did a lot of that dirty work to free up Carter, because he did a lot of the dirty work up in New England. And when you lose a guy like that, dude, you're starting to get the double teams more. And I think he got frustrated. And I think that played out into his emotion. Hey, dude, I saw Baker Mayfield talking shit to Jalen Carter in that Netflix thing. Hey, aren't you the guy that had the spitting problem? Hey, you're going to get every single player on the planet trying to get under this guy's ass.
Yeah.
Okay? Because they think he's mentally able to get to him. That's not a good thing. So I think Milton Williams and Josh Sweat. Sweat goes on and gets 12 sacks. Milton's in the fucking Super Bowl. Carter standing on the sidelines with Drew Rosenhaus. I mean, dude, I'm down on him.
I mean, I get why.
No,
But
you're right. You got it. You're good.
yeah, I get why. And look, it's on him. They'll play great, and I think it'll solve itself. If he doesn't, then obviously these are going to be the tough conversations that the Eagles will have to have.
Now, I want you to take this into both sides, so it's not going to be a loaded question here. You think AJ is going to benefit New England more and hurt Philly more? Or do you think Philly benefits not having AJ and AJ hurts New England? What impact does
AJ's not going to
have?
hurt New
What
England.
what impact does AJ have on both the Eagles and New England this coming season, in your opinion?
He's going to help New England a lot. They had nobody to draw coverage like that guy last year. Nobody. Who'd they have? Kayshon Boutte? I mean, look, all due respect to him, he's not drawing coverage like AJ Brown is.
No.
I mean, the thing about AJ is he's the type of receiver that does force defenses to shift coverages and play different. So there's no doubt in my mind he's going to help the Patriots. How productive he is, I don't know. I mean, is it 1,000 yards? Is it 1,400? Is it 1,200? Who knows? We'll see. The Eagles, the reason that I don't think it says doom and gloom is because they were so shitty last year. I mean, if they were the 12th ranked offense, I would be like, yeah, that's not good, Sills. They were the 25th.
So 25th.
What are they going to do? Go from the 25th to the 27th?
So the 25th passing game with AJ. With AJ. Now you take him out. They're going to be better.
So I think the unit was just stale. I mean, you can. There are instances though where you can be a bet, like you said, be a better unit and might not have the better player. So I think that's what the offense is hoping for this year. I think they could get better, but I'm not going to sit here and like say, oh, they're getting better because they got rid of AJ Brown. I'm not going to fall for that delusion land. And I think AJ helped the Patriots.
I'm going to simplify this for everybody here now that we've gotten through the offseason here because we're 12 days out. You ready? I am more believing that you're going to be healthier to be better. I don't believe any of your coaches you added. I don't believe any players you added. I don't think anything you did in the offseason is going to benefit more than you being healthy.
Well, that's true.
I think you being healthy is the number one key to this. Because, Zander, if you run the ball like you did, how about this? If you run the ball 80% of what you did in 24, are you in the NFC title? Are you in the NFC title game?
80% would be over 1,600 yards. I don't know if they're doing that.
You're getting to the NFC championship game. Well, shit, dude. If you're not 80%, what are we talking about here? 25 again? Dude, if that run game does not get back to being good, not okay. When you see Christmas balls falling off a tree and shit, when the animals get under there and you just start seeing Christmas balls breaking on the floor, that's what you're going to see in Philly. You're going to see this Christmas tree looks all good at the beginning of the Christmas holidays. And by the end of the bucket, the tinsel's hanging off. There's three Christmas balls hanging. 4 of them on the floor broken. That's what the offense is going to look like. Just telling you, dude. What'd you make of that comment by Gruden talking about?
Yeah, it was a good comment. He's right. I think he's right. It's condensing. It's not evolving. It's actually condensing. They're doing less. They're being asked to do less. They're simplifying everything. It's the new version of football. So evolution is still, by its nature, that's the evolutionary nature
of it.
With that
said, then wouldn't you rather have a mobile quarterback?
Not me.
Well, with free agency,
it depends. I mean, it depends. That's a wide open term. Define mobile quarterback. Josh Allen, hell yeah. Jaden Daniels,
Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert, hell yeah. I mean, I think one of your primary skill sets still needs to be I can read and process the defenses and make the throws on time. More than accuracy, more than arm strength, can you read, process, and does the ball arrive on time? Defenses are too quick. So if you have that and you're dual threat, shit. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I don't want dual threat. I mean, if it makes you a better player, hell yeah. But I don't want to live and die on that. And it feels like that's kind of what's been happening. You know, Jalen stopped running and our offense has been bad in the passing game. So can he evolve? Can he improve? Potentially. I mean, you know, maybe, but we haven't seen it yet. So let's see it.
I got to tell you today, man, when I was listening to your show, I am now going off the top rope from now on. If Nick is making all these hires, this is Nick's decision then to change the offense. This is Nick's decision to hire an inexperienced coordinator again.
Well, remember, dude, you got to remember, though, the history of this organization. This is the same organization that called a meeting with Doug Peterson for winning a game in Lambeau on Monday night or Thursday night. I forget what it was. It was a primetime football game in Lambeau. And they called a meeting with Doug Peterson because they didn't throw the ball enough. That's the history of this owner.
Well, then it's a loaded way for coaches to pick their
It is, but remember, we've talked about Nick Sirianni being politically savvy with the
It's
front
like
office.
doing this. I'm going to put 15 coaches on a sheet. Nick, pick one of these from this sheet. Is that really Nick picking his coaches?
I just don't. I just don't get, like, and you're in this camp too. Like, what do you people want these offensive coaches to do? I don't get. Kellen Moore could not run his offense more than 4 weeks. What do you want these offensive do you want them to freaking come in here with the magic wand? All these people who say the offensive coaches suck ass. What are you proposing? That you believe NFL coaches who are hired and paid in the National Football League, not people in a YouTube chat, what do you propose them to do? That's what I don't understand.
When I hire a coach, I want him to have answers.
Sills, don't you need answers? Don't you need options to have answers?
Yes.
If you're broken down in the middle of the highway and you have a blown engine in your car, I'm going to say, well, Phil, you're the captain of this ship. You got to get us home. You're going to be like, hey, dickhead, my car's broken down in the middle of the road. Either call AAA or we're fucked.
This is what I want my coach to be. If I'm out in the middle of the fucking ocean, my engine goes down. I want my guys to be able to do, let's do me a favor. Let's get every goddamn bed sheet we have. Let's put it up on top of the stern here. Let's fucking make a sail. Let's figure out how the hell we can get this bitch going. I don't care if we have to row with spoons.
Okay, perfect example.
I don't care if we have to row with spoons.
Okay,
we're going to get home.
Wait a second. This is a prime example. And
I want to get home.
Wait a second. And now your squad, they build you the sail. They got the sheet blowing in the wind. And in comes a 42-foot with 3 fat Yamaha 450 horsepower motors on the back. And it blows by you. Then what? You're gonna look at that and say, yeah, that's pretty nice.
No, because you know why? You know what I'm on? I'm on the Jalen Hurts. I'm on the fucking one. I gotta get the fucking.
That's precisely what I'm saying.
I'm on the USS Jalen Hurts, and I've got to use bed sheets to get home and spoon.
You guys are all acting like they can turn bed sheets into brand new Yamahas.
Nick doesn't build the bed sheets. He sits there and goes, 4 verts.
So explain your success then. You'd be correct if they sucked ass.
Okay, so wait. You go from being a Super Bowl champion in 2024 to hiring Kevin Patullo. How do you fall off the cliff? What are you, drunk? I mean, that's like a drunkard hire.
To be fair, you don't hire you don't hire the number one captain in the world when you got a rowboat, dude.
Well, wait. You go from
you spend big money on a captain when you got the yacht.
You go from winning the Super Bowl in 24 to go like this. Let me hire my cousin from fucking Geno's. Bullshit. I mean, how do you go there?
You need you, not the people listening. You need to have a come to Jesus conversation. This is not the easiest team in the world to coach a great offense around. It's not.
You mean no? What you need to do is simplify it. You mean this ain't an easy offense to build around the quarterback?
Yes, precisely.
Okay.
Precisely.
So Hurts is a system, Nick Sirianni's system quarterback.
Which hasn't he been?
Yeah.
Outside of 22, when Jalen was truly an elite football player.
Shane.
Yeah, but Jalen executed. I mean,
okay. No. Jalen.
Again, no.
Jalen was awesome.
Shane can't run that offense without the player.
Wait, no. What do you think is the one thing that is different from 22 to every other year he's played?
He ran the football.
Not only that, Hurts made all the decisions.
But they simplified the decisions for him.
Oh, well, what's his best year as a player?
22.
When
he doesn't
bro,
play
when you run the RPO, nobody on the sidelines has any say, do they? It's the guy making the decision at the last moment. Why did they take that dynamic away from him?
It's just amazing. Sileo expects this fucking rowboat to boot up like it's LeBron's yacht on the coast of Italy. When I was in Italy, apparently they were all talking about LeBron's yacht.
I want a captain when my engines go down. I want him to get me fucking home.
Oh, he'll get you home. It's just going to be the ugliest way home you've ever seen in your life.
Is he? I tell you, every time his boat gets water on it, I've seen that bitch sink.
Dude, you can't say that.
23, it sunk, and it sunk last year.
And what happened in 22 and 24? Don't leave that out. That's not a fair conversation.
Okay. You're right. What happened? Everything was perfect. Nobody
Oh my gosh. Everything was 24. Everything was not the offensive. Wait a second. The offensive coordinator they hired in 24 could not run his offense more than 4 weeks.
2022 and 2024. Eagle fans, why don't you tell Mr. Z here what was the one common denominator between those two teams? Every single player that started in September, except for Nakobe Dean in 24, only one player was injured.
Sileo, you're breaking this city.
You were completely healthy in both those teams.
You're breaking this city, Sileo.
I'm not breaking. I just happen to be pointing things out that this year, the only one thing that's going to make this team a Super Bowl contending team is if their health comes back to being the team that they were in 24 and they're healthy again, that football team will win a lot of games. But if it doesn't come back healthy, they're going to struggle like you've never seen. You're going to be 2020.
Well, look, here's a good point. Ramir says, Zan, you do know Kellen didn't get the offense rolling with the Saints until week 10 or 12. Well, Ramir, I agree with you. Now, I'm not going to sit here and compare Jalen Hurts to fucking Tyler Shuck. If you want to do that, we can. But that's also why we've said on this program many times before, and John makes the point all the time, it was somewhat unfair to Hurts. They abandoned it after 4 weeks. But the result is the result, Ramir. It was the right decision.
Yeah, Nick doesn't give a shit whether Jalen got developed or not.
Yeah,
he cares what the one-loss record was.
Isn't that what you want?
Do you think a coordinator's responsibility is to improve the best player on your roster, or the most important player on your roster, or to win games?
To win games.
Well, then why are they changing? They won games.
Yeah, but they didn't win games
Now
because
let's
of
see
the
if they're
offense.
contradicting that.
They
now to
didn't.
me.
Last year was the first year they did not win games because of the offense. 23, to Jalen Hurts' credit, he didn't have his best year in terms of turnovers. He did drag one of the worst defenses in football to the playoffs. 24, the offensive running game was historically good. They won games because of the offense. 22, obviously, we all know how good Jalen Hurts and that offense was. 25 was the first year they won games, and it basically had very little to do with the offense. Outside of, I think, the first 4 weeks when Jalen was running pretty good. I mean, I think they won week 1 versus Dallas because of Jalen.
First 4, actually, I would say because of his wheels.
So that was the first year that happened.
So you make a course change in 17 weeks based on 4 years of success?
You would think I own this fucking team the way this guy asked the question.
I'm just saying, I mean, wow. Thank God you don't pull the, get this. You know what the Eagles look like? There's a guy that goes into the hospital and he's terminally ill and he's sick. And you know what they do? Zander standing over him going, you got to pull the plug on this guy.
No, I'm not.
Wait a minute. He's only got pneumonia. He's going to be okay. Fuck that. Look, can you hear him? Pull the plug on the guy. He's got pneumonia.
A crock of crap.
He's not gonna die. And they go, fuck Stoutland. Pull the plug on him. This guy's dying. Wait, it's only a cold. He's been sick for a couple weeks. And Xander's like, fuck that. Pull the plug on him. He's done.
Fake news.
Fake. That's what they did. They pulled the plug on Stoutland while he was laying there with a chest cold.
Well, go be a head coach then, Jeff.
You see, Zia, you're supposed to work with people, man. You're not supposed to shut people out. You're supposed to hire as many quality guys as you possibly can. Nobody in their right mind would do this. Hey, guess what? Who are you choosing as your new O-line coach? Or who are you choosing as your O-line coach? Fuck Stoutland. He's not that great. I'm taking Cooper. What? I look at you and go, come again. What'd you say? I think Chris Cooper's a better hire. We got to get rid of Stoutland because Jeff Stoutland's outdated and antiquated. What? I'd go like this. You need to come into my office, son. You need to sit down. And we need to have a come to Jesus conversation on who's a fucking good coordinator and who's a good old line coach or not.
At least I'm not alone. Twiz is ready to pull the plug too. Yeah, Twiz is that. We've been holding on to him for 6 years. He's acting like all of a sudden. I mean, come on, Twiz. Don't let this guy fucking.
Hey, Twiz. Every year the guys had the number 1 or number 2, 3 running attack in football. 1 year he's 7th. And fucking they go pull the plug. Xander's got him on a respirator. Fucking guy's done. Kill him. He's done.
That's not really true.
Oh, really? Then what was it? 17 weeks. You pulled the plug on the guy.
Dude, they've obviously established, and we don't know whether they're right or wrong yet. They've obviously established that their old style of play they do not believe will work into the future.
So
clearly.
Okay, so you ran off Stoutland and AJ.
Yeah, but we also have to wait and see because we thought this with Kellen Moore where the RPO was going to be done, and that's why they brought in Kellen Moore.
You think Nick Sirianni's a top 10 coach?
I think he's right around there. Probably 10 to 15.
And what is his best skill set, you think?
I'm not sure. What's John Harbaugh's best skill set?
Taking control. Being a leader.
All right. Well, he's got less success in 28 years than Nick does in fucking 6. So maybe he ought to learn a thing or two.
So, okay. So wait, you think Nick's a better coach than John?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't like the question of a skill set because that's not a coach is not a coach to me does not. It's not boiled down to a skill set. That's a player question. What's your skill set?
So wait, you don't think everybody has a certain skill that they possess?
No, they do, but I don't think that's the way you surmise a coach's tenure in the NFL. I don't.
Okay. How would you surmise a coach's tenure in the NFL?
Did they win fucking ball games? How's that? Did they win ball games?
Okay. So did they win? That's a perfect way to go. So if a guy wins ball games and he's in an organization that you just got through telling us that that's how Jeffrey Lurie and Howie run this thing, and they slid him
They
in.
don't change. Like, what are
And
you
wait a
now?
minute.
Are
We
you
have
now
meetings.
latched on that they
We
shouldn't
have-
change because they won 11 games?
We have meetings every Monday talking about whether or not you throw 18 passes or 15 passes. And they're up your ass micromanaging you each and every single day. Do the Eagles micromanage their coaches? Yes or no?
Dude, I hope I kicked it. I hope I kicked the foot of my couch tonight and stubbed my toe. That's how. That would be better than this segment right now.
Hey, hey.
What was your question, dude? What was your
Do
question?
you think they micromanage Nick Sirianni?
Probably a little bit. They're control freaks.
You think Sean McVay is micromanaged?
No. Different
You think
coach, different organization, different GM,
you
different
think
owner.
Kyle Shanahan is micromanaged?
No. Same thing.
Okay.
Different coach, different team, different organization.
So you ask me what I think his skill set is.
Well, where's Kyle? Well, then if Kyle's so fucking great, why doesn't he have the success?
Whoa. I said earlier, I think that guy has got Andy Reid disease right now. And he needs to have a seance done on him to have that exercised out of him with those 2-minute decision makings. And to me, I think he needs an upgraded quarterback.
This is tragic.
Because you know why? What was the one thing that Andy was critical? You guys were critical of Andy about being in Philadelphia. What was the one thing you were critical of him on? Game management.
Yeah. Boy, I tell you what, you've changed, Sileo. You've changed.
Yeah, I've changed.
You know, when you got hired here on JAKIB, what is that? Almost 6 years ago now. You were players, coaches. In Philadelphia, it's all the suits. You don't think the coach is good. You don't think the quarterback is any good. Everybody sucks except the general manager.
Whoa. That ain't just me. Executives this week said at your quarterback.
I'm not saying quarterback. I didn't say anything about the quarterback. I'm not the biggest fan either of the skill set.
Okay.
I've said that hundreds of times.
Everybody, according to the skill set of the people in the league, were saying your boy, 85% of the general managers look at Jalen Hurts as Jacoby Brissett.
Well, you keep bringing up the other coaches. Do you think they would win with a quarterback that has a limited skill set? Kyle, you could probably make the argument because I don't think Brock Purdy's a world beater.
Well, like I said, and I started the program out, the winningest quarterback since 2022 percentage-wise is Sam Darnold. He's been on 5 teams. He makes $30 million. He's a journeyman.
And he's had
he's
had 2 really good rosters the last 2 years.
Right. Look at those rosters in Minnesota and Seattle. I mean, it's about roster. You don't have to be elite at that. John Elway. We're going to get Jason. Jason wrote that book on John Elway. John Elway wasn't elite at the end of his career. What was elite was Mike Shanahan and Terrell Davis, and that old line was elite. And Elway's decision-making was elite still. That never left him. But John's skills, his best years, he was 6 years past his prime when he was winning those last 2 Super Bowls. Dude, it was about the Mike Shanahan roster that won those last 2 in Denver.
I think it matters. I just don't think you can win 70% of your ball games and stink as a head coach. I just don't.
George Seifert did.
Well, then maybe I'm wrong, but I'm all right to be wrong. I mean, I'm okay. I'll admit I'm wrong if I ever believe that I'm wrong, but I don't believe at this point that Nick Sirianni sucks. I mean, is he perfect? No, but I think he's a pretty good head coach.
Before we get to Jason, do we have any supers here? Z,
we got a ton of them, but you should read them afterward because I don't want to hold Jason up here.
All right, let's do it after.
6 of them.
We'll come back and we'll read them after, okay?
Yeah, that's good. All right, brother.
All right. Appreciate you, bro. We'll see you in a couple minutes there. You know, and Jason, I got that book. It's on my shelf on John Elway, and he chronicles all the things. I'll say this again. I put this out there, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm shading here on John Elway. Here are my 6 greatest quarterbacks, and I put them up on my social media page at Dan Sileo Show. And the 6 quarterbacks that I put up, I've got, and I'm sorry that people disagree with me on it, but it's got a pretty good response. I got Montana 1. I got Brady 2. I got Mahomes 3. I got Peyton Manning 4. I've got Steve Young 5. And I've got John Elway 6. I didn't go 7, 8, 9, and 10. Nobody's beating me with one of these 6 quarterbacks. And by the way, you could put Elway 2. You could put Elway 3. Skill set wise, you could put Elway number 1. And then Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Go down that way if you want. It's all the way. It's all context. John's one of the greatest skilled players to ever play. Played against him. But he wasn't the player he was at the end of his career. He was still the great decision maker. That team was a Terrell Davis team. All right. And Alex Gibb. Without further ado, the guy who wrote that book on him and quarterback play, and there's been a lot of conversation on Jalen Hurts, obviously, especially the Jeremy Fowler stuff. Our Hall of Fame voter, Jason Cole, joins us now. Jace, appreciate you coming aboard. Jace, am I right when I say this about Elway at the end? I mean, the one thing that Elway never really had, early part of his career when he was 0-3 in the Super Bowls, was the fact that he never really had a great defense. There wasn't a lot of skill set, and it was Elway carrying that unit and that football team to those Super Bowls. They were limited. The defense was good, but the offense, he carried that thing. But at the back end of his career, I don't want to call him a caboose because that's not fair to him. But he wasn't the focal point of those 2 Super Bowl championship teams. It was Davis.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, he had a running game for the first time. A running game that's explosive. That was evolutionary. You know, the way that it was run, the way that Gibbs ran the blocking schemes, and not that it was a particularly popular way to run the blocking scheme.
Man blocking.
Cut blocking on the backside and stuff like that. But it was legal technically. And they had a great cutback runner, which was what they built their system around. I mean, Terrell Davis was one of the greatest cutback runners you'll ever see. Amazing vision, and but you have to have a guy with a trigger that has to be respected. Like all things exist in balance. There are very few teams where you say, look, the quarterback completely carried them. Joe Montana is as great as he was. I mean, did have Jerry Rice and John Taylor.
Well, not the first one, not the first Super Bowl he did.
No, not the first one, but subsequently, as he's building up. I mean, the first Super Bowl is again one at a time where offense had not caught up yet, right? Where things had not.
And he had a Hall of Fame play caller. Too.
Right, and the defense, he did have Ronnie Lott on the other side, right?
All them rookies that year, remember all them rookies that year? That defense was one of the
the secondary is one of the best you'll ever see in pro football history.
All them guys.
Yeah, right. So again, all things exist in balance when you're trying to win. So you can have Trent. You can win a Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer. You can win a Super Bowl with Brad Johnson. You can win a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. Okay, but you have to have some things that get hot along the way. All right, your defense has to be evolutionary or historic, as it was with Tampa Bay, and Brad Johnson, and with Trent Dilfer and Baltimore. You have to have a quarterback who gets incredibly hot. Like Nick Foles, I always say, played football much like a off guard in basketball, which is what he was in basketball, because he got really hot. And if you remember the way that they played, it was essentially catch and shoot, get the snap and get rid of it. He wasn't taking a lot of time. He was playing in rhythm. And so, there's a lot of crossover in terms of how you're actually executing the sport that you're playing. Look, John Elway had an incredible skill set by any quarterback standard at the end of his career. Not by his own standard. It's not the same skill set as when he came in the league. But he also had great players around him, finally. Terrell Davis, great offensive line, really good defense, all those things, compared to when he was at the apex of his talent the first 10 years of his career, when he had 2 Pro Bowlers on offense, and one was the guard who I can't remember, Dennis something.
Yeah.
And
Mark
you
Dennis.
know, no, not Mark Dennis. It was his first name was Dennis. I can't remember his name, but he was he was a try-hard guard like in the 80s. And then they had Sammy Winder. Like the 3 amigos that people like to bring up, they're I hate to say it, but they're kind of a joke. Mark Jackson had the big catch against Cleveland, and Johnson was a good player. Ricky Natil was just a guy who ran really fast. I mean, you look at their career stats, they're not major contributors. They're not big time guys. So he just did, he didn't have a lot of guys around him. I mean, Mecklenburg, solid linebacker, but a lot of guys were, the 2 safeties were good safeties, but not great ones. Mike Harden, and I'm trying to remember who the other one was on the other side. There were decent, solid players. None of them were great, and the NFC was loaded at that time. So the fact that they made it to the Super Bowl 3 times is really a great compliment to Elway carrying them over some, like Dolphins teams with Marino and some Buffalo teams with Jim Kelly that, came up short consistently.
Jace, I want to go here and ask you this about Hurts. Jeremy Fowler was doing these surveys all week, and I thought they were great. And by the way, what I love about the survey is it's not loser hammerheads like me that are sitting here that are talk show hosts coming up with these. When you ask certain people questions and you ask people that you respect questions on this and that, you go around and you pick certain guys that that played the game, guys that were involved in the game, what have you. Like, again, I've got this really cool book here by Mark Trestman. He sent this to me here. And I think Mark is one of the great minds. I don't think he was a great head football coach, but I think he was a great understanding because he had coached Steve Young. He had coached all these guys. And when you get these questions, what do you say when you hear 85% of the NFL executives didn't think much of Jalen Hurts this year when it came to saying who were the top 30 quarterbacks or top 25 quarterbacks? 15% left him, only 15% kind of made a comment about him. The other 85% didn't even bring him up as one of the top 20 quarterbacks in the NFL. What do you make of that? Yeah. Skill set wise, they love his intangibles, but when it comes to his skill, look,
we've seen the skill. Okay, he's not a quick read quarterback. He's not a guy who is going to get to his 3rd and 4th reads. He's not super accurate. He's not a confident, rhythm passer. There are faults to Jalen Hurts that go with the passing game. And when you look at quarterbacks, overwhelmingly, you're looking at their ability to throw. But Jalen Hurts, again, they win because, yes, he was surrounded by an incredible array of talent that worked in balance. Okay, again, you had great running back, for their championship year, great running back, right? Really excellent offensive line, a clear number 1 receiver who was a handful for defenses to handle.
Number 1 ranked defense too.
Right, number 1 ranked defense. I mean, but a number 2 receiver who's a clear number 2 and terrific as a number 2, and always a tight end who was, a guy who was going to get work done for you, right? If not 2 guys at tight end who were going to, that the defense had to account for, had to respect. All of those guys are guys that you have to respect, because if you don't respect, Devontae Smith, if you don't respect him, he's going to burn you.
Yes.
And he's going to hurt you. I mean, and he's going to make some big plays. And if you don't respect Jalen Hurts as a runner and account for him as a runner, he's going to crush you. And if you don't, again, it was a well-designed group of talent around a quarterback who could execute what they're trying to do specifically in that offense, because his skill set works. If you put him into a pass heavy offense where he had to play under center all the time and drop back 3, 5, and 7 steps and read. Like if you put him in the Colts offense that was run under Peyton Manning, okay, it ain't gonna work. That's not who he is. So you play to what his strengths are, and he has, one overwhelming strength, his ability to move around, be accounted for. He also, short yardage quarterback, amazing short yardage quarterback, right? And people don't understand the true value of when you convert fourth downs at the rate that they convert fourth downs. It's a truly amazing thing.
Number one red zone a year ago, too.
Right. I mean, there's just, I appreciate Jalen Hurts and how he works functionally in their offense. And I give him great kudos. But do I think he's a dangerous passer? No. I would want to do everything I can to make him a passer, fully recognizing that I want to get him to try and throw 30 times as much as I can. But he can also get hot because he's got guys on the outside who are going to help him.
But then, Jason, why succumb to AJ's demands and let one of the top 10 wide receivers?
Because it was going to be he was going to be a pain, and you got to get like.
Yeah, but isn't that the quarterback's responsibility? Michael Irvin was a pain.
But see, this is where I don't buy into the intangibles as much as people do. Okay, I look at Jalen's intangibles and I say, do you know how to make your guys around you happy? Right? Like part of the job of a quarterback is to make the guys around you happy, right? Jalen's a hard worker. Jalen's dedicated. Jalen is getting as much as he can out of himself, right? But Jalen doesn't know how to bring other guys into the fold, okay? And that's something that I think most general managers don't see because they're not in the Philly locker room. They're not asking that question about the Philly locker room. They're not finding out who's truly the leader on this team. And if you know that team, it was Kelsey and Fletcher, with Graham as sort of a third guy and some of the older guys. And before that, it was Jason Peters, older guy. It was not the quarterback. And when it came to the quarterback having to then step up and be the guy to say, hey guys, let's bring it in here. Let's keep this together. He wasn't capable of doing it. So this is where I think the intangibles are kind of BS. But he's a unique player who I recognize what they've done. I mean, like they're an eyelash from winning 2 Super Bowls with him. I mean, an eyelash, one bad call away from winning 2 Super Bowls, basically. And I don't even want to say it's necessarily a bad call, but one call in the game against Kansas City the first time away from having 2 Super Bowl rings. So I don't want to take that away from what Hurts has done, but he's not a guy I would invest a lot in. I would pay as I go with him.
Do you think, let me ask you a coaching question. Do you think Nick Sirianni is closer to a coach like Parcells or closer to a coach like Seifert?
Seifert. Closer to Seifert. Yeah. His and look, see, some people argue Seifert's a Hall of Fame coach, but look, I think if you allowed
105 and 35 in 8 years is pretty impressive. I mean,
well, yeah, I mean, but you got to add in the Carolina years, and he wasn't running the show then. It wasn't his team. He wasn't really his team, and he had two Hall of Fame quarterbacks. He went from Montana to Young. I mean, and he had like offensive coordinators, Holmgren.
Well, how come he's penalized? He's penalized for that, but Lombardi's not.
Because Lombardi defined an era. Okay. Look, Lombardi is the prototype of what. I mean, we're going to get into this deep philosophical argument that I often make. In the post-war America, of the 1960s. NFL coaches became generals, right? They were the manifestation of what we considered.
He had the private phone number to John F. Kennedy. He could call him to get guys like Paul Hornung off of Army detail for a weekend to play in an NFL.
Right. I mean, like, yeah, but I mean, those guys represent what, like Patton and MacArthur, and like you transition from, we just won world wars, we were in, we had these great generals leading the way, and all of a sudden, we're revering these guys, and now it's Landry and Noel, and and nobody Lombardi is higher on that than Lombardi, right? Yeah. Paul Brown, like, Shula, like, it was the blood and guts kind of guy on the sideline. Those became the faces of the NFL. Well, Lombardi's the face of the NFL in the 60s because everybody else is sort of faceless. All right. So it's different. Okay. So that's why you don't hold it against a guy like him, the amount of talent that he had. I mean, but, and also the era is different. You were allowed to hold your talent. There was no free agency. So look, I mean, with Seifert, I just don't. I look at Seifert, and I think he was a really terrific defensive coordinator who, took advantage of the fact that he took over right after Walsh, and those players like Montana and Rice and all those guys had a hankering to basically shove it up Walsh's rear and prove that they were the actual team that won, that they mattered more. So the first title is driven home by the fact that those guys wanted to prove a point. And then Steve Young is there, and he's got to prove himself, and he's got, Shanahan and all these guys who are, doing some amazing things for him. So, and amazing players around him. You had some driven guys, and that's not to say that, that Seifert didn't do some good things along the way, but I never thought that Seifert was the driving force of those teams.
No,
he's the guy who was the figurehead at the top, running the show, making sure that that there wasn't complete chaos, right?
Yeah.
And frankly, like, he's the guy who couldn't handle Charles Haley.
Yeah,
he's one of the guys. He's one of the reasons.
I've talked to Eddie about it. About it.
Yeah, I mean, look, nobody could handle Charles Haley.
No,
but particularly Seifert, and that handed 3 titles essentially to Jimmy, right? Completely. Like when you give him Charles Haley.
When you asked Mr. DeBartolo that question, he said that, last time I talked to him was a month ago, and he said that, when they flew back from Youngstown, he told Joe right there on the plane, listen, if you want to be the starter, you know what? You're the starter. And I talked to George already about it. George wanted Young, and so did Carmen. And he goes, I don't care. And Joe went, no, too much water's under the dam. I got to go. And so he goes, you sure? And he said that he really was sorry that he allowed that. And his second biggest one was not going and talking to Haley and talking. He goes, in my opinion, like you just said, they handed 3 Super Bowls because he was the final linchpin.
Yeah,
and the whole thing
is the upfront guy who stirred the drink. I mean, so, I mean,
yeah, I just don't think a lot of Sirianni.
Look, I think Sirianni's done a hell of a job. Like, again, he's this close to winning 2 Super Bowls. You can't take that away from him.
And he's
done a hell of a job running the program overall. But I just don't I don't see a guy who's reinventing anything in football or changing anything from. I see a guy who makes some good decisions, keeps the chaos at bay as much as possible. But I see a guy who runs pretty hot and cold, and he hasn't been able, the face
of that franchise is Howie, not him.
Yeah, especially at this point. I mean, after you get rid of guys like Cox and Kelsey, I don't think that he's recognized. I don't think Sirianni has recognized what he's missing in terms of leadership, and then didn't anticipate what to do with it. And that's what allowed Carter and to Jalen Carter to get out of control. And to a certain extent, he didn't counsel Jalen Hurts on how do you fix this with AJ.
Yeah,
help the guy if you see that your quarterback doesn't know how to do this, help him figure it out. Help him figure out how to bring the wide receiver back into it. That's part of your job. Like when you're talking about Parcells, and I don't think that Parcells is an evolutionary coach in terms of the X's and O's.
I don't either.
Okay. I think that he's an amazing coach in terms of how to handle people and how to handle, the talent around him to get it to play like crazy. And I also think he did an amazing job of, he brought in who is it? The assistant coach that was next to him, the guy out of Stanford, who just passed away. Ray,
Ray Malavasi?
No, not Mel. It was the running back coach in the 80s, and now that I'm blanking on his name, and I know him because
was he up in Green Bay?
No, he was the guy who followed Parcells. Who was the guy who followed Parcells?
Ray Handley.
Ray Handley. That's why I'm just blanking on his name. He just passed away.
He's a Stanford guy?
Yeah, he was a Stanford guy. He's a Stanford grad. In fact, Ray Handley's fascinating because he was a math major in college. So he was one of the first strategy coaches. So everybody talks about all these on-field strategy guys, okay, who, figure out timeouts and when you're supposed to do it. Handley's the first guy who was ever truly great about it. So go watch films. When you watch films of those Giants teams back in the 80s, always look over one of Parcells' shoulder.
He was the first analytics kind of guy?
Oh, absolutely. He's the first serious analytics guy in the NFL. At least I think so. He's the forerunner. He's what encouraged Belichick to go get Ernie Adams, okay, and to make sure that he had a guy right.
Now
so
I
Handley,
that.
So Handley.
I didn't know that.
Handley's so good with numbers. Like the story, he got banned from casinos in Tahoe because he was a card counter. So he was so good that they had to get rid of him. Okay.
No wonder the Giants hired that guy.
Right. So Handley's that kind of genius. So Parcells was great at dealing with personalities and people. Like he was great dealing with LT. He's great dealing with Sims. He ran a defense that was perfect, along with a running game that was a great complement to it. Right. So again, he created this team that George Young drafted. George Young got him the talent. He created a team built on a running game with a great defense. Had Belichick as a defensive coordinator, had LT, greatest defensive player of all time, and had a strategy coach over his shoulder. Because again, watch every one of the NFL films. Whenever you see Parcells standing on the sideline, look over his shoulders. Look over his shoulders, the guy behind him. You'll see a guy with glasses. That's Ray Handley in a New York Giants ball cap, right? Not much of a personality, but a genius in terms of game execution.
Down in distance, probability. I never realized that about Ray. I always wondered why that guy was on the staff, and I'm like, he's
math
not
guy, pure math. He's a pure math guy. I'll tell you the funny story about Ray Handley. When I was an undergrad at Stanford, first time I ever played in a fantasy football league, Ray Handley was the commissioner of the fantasy football league. All right. Because he was the numbers guy. He understood like putting all this stuff together, and he was intrigued by it. He loved doing silly stuff like this.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's Ray's, that was Ray's gift. He was an odds guy. He figured out downs, distance, situations, what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to handle it. But the most important thing about his analytics, he was a football player. He understood football tendencies. And so once Parcells got him, it's all part of this incredible marriage of factors that results in 2 Super Bowl wins.
Okay, couple last ones here for you. And I have to ask you Hall of Fame stuff here. CBS came out with their top NFL coaches of all time, and I thought I'd play a nice game here with you. So this was theirs. Belichick.
Who wrote it?
I think Pete Prisco.
Oh, and by the way, on your quarterback list, and I appreciate your quarterback list, and I'm not arguing it, okay? But like Unitas, come on.
Okay, well, here's where my
transcendent passer who blew the numbers away and won.
Here's how I took and put these guys in, and why I picked these 6 players. I looked at the way they could read a defense, their athleticism, what they had around him,
Yeah.
who coached him, who developed him. And again, a tremendous skill set. Unitas doesn't have any skill set on here that can compete with anybody but maybe Manning, because Manning was not a very athletic guy. But I think Manning, his ability to see complex secondaries. Remember, Unitas didn't have complex defenses to go against. Manning had.
No, he had guys who were about ready to rip his head off, and he was playing.
No, I know the game was more physical. There's no doubt. But Montana, to me, you put Joe Montana in today's NFL, he's undefensible. You put.
We can make some arguments, and I'll say this:
if you put Elway in today's game, not being able to hit him, John Elway would go 16-1 every year.
Well, Marino too. I mean, those guys. Again, you put a good enough team around him and all those things. I get what you're saying.
Hey, Jason, I don't need a great enough team around Elway in his prime. He'll go 16-1 with Jimmys and Joes. That's how great that guy was. He was.
I understand.
You're on the field with him, and you see him. You're like, yeah, no. There's guys.
I'll just say this in defense of Unitas. No one changed the passing game faster, more distinctly than Unitas in his era. All right, and he did things that a lot of other guys. There were some blips here. There's a Y.A. Tittle year in there somewhere. There's some Fran Tarkenton years. There are some times where guys did some nice things. Nobody consistently dominated the passing game the way the Unitas did and won championships. And that's why he set the numbers out of sight and played, tough guy. You're talking about the closest thing to a face of the league among players is John Unitas.
He had a couple Hall of Famers around him too. Let's not forget.
Oh yeah, but it's a small league. I mean, they all had a bunch of Hall of Famers around.
But
anyways, go on to this.
And I'll give you mine here. And I want to
hear who wrote this article.
It was Pete Prisco who wrote.
Okay, so Pete, I respect Pete's opinion.
Okay. They had Belichick 1, they had Lombardi 2, they had Walsh 3, they had Paul Brown 4, and they had Shula 5. Here's my 5. I had Belichick 1, I had Lombardi 2, I had Shula 3, I had Walsh 4, and I had Chuck Noll 5. And let me give you my context on why I put Noll 5. Noll was him and his scouting department were just ahead of their time in how they evaluated players in not just the first round, but second, third, fourth, and fifth. And these guys were just finding these Hall of Fame guys. And in every freaking round, they were finding guys. And
you had Dick Haley and you had Bill Nunn.
And from 1969, previous to that, the Rooneys had a horrible Steeler organization. The only guy that was Ernie Stautner that was anybody in the building. And then when he got there in January of 69, it changed the entire franchise to where this year is the first year that you've had a fourth coach since 1969. There's more popes and presidents have been elected than head coaches in Pittsburgh. That's the dominance of what Noll did in setting and pouring the landscape.
You made me think like that. They should have a little puff of like of gold. They should have gold smoke.
Yeah,
every time
they name a head coach in Pittsburgh, right? Walsh, because to me, Ed DeBartolo told the story about Walsh, which was, I never realized this. I'm sorry, I have no respect for Paul Brown, and I'll tell you why. So Paul Brown.
Well, yeah, because Paul Brown undercut Walsh until
he blackballed him.
Yeah, he didn't blackball him necessarily, but he told DeBartolo's old man that basically he was a pussy.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah.
Well, that he couldn't handle pressure in that he was up for the Charger job, the Ram job, and the Packer job. And Paul Brown was going behind the back going, this guy's, he can't handle pressure. He's not this and that. And he went to DeBartolo, and DeBartolo went, let me talk to him. So he sees him at the Blue Bonnet Bowl or some shit, and he talks to him. He goes, no way, that's my guy. and I'm hiring.
But I'll say this. Here's the funny part, because some of that, Walsh is a lot tougher human being than people gave him credit
Oh,
for.
you bet.
Certainly tougher than Paul Brown. Paul Brown did. It was a crappy thing to do to him. Not for a guy who worked as hard and made them as competitive in Cincinnati as he did during the 70s when they had no business competing with the Steelers, and they were competitive with the Steelers because Walsh came up with that West Coast attack and made Kenny Anderson, made him an effective quarterback.
And that Duke Cook they had for a little bit,
right. But I'll just I'll say this: Walsh had his moments like. He would break down in tears after certain losses, right? He has a lot of.
He was emotional. He was.
He was a high-strung guy who did not handle year in and year out. He did not handle failure particularly well. No. He also did, he didn't handle his own interpersonal relationships because he was a dog in a lot of ways, and he had some issues, but he's a genius of a football coach.
I used to have him as a segment on KMBR, and he would come in and sit with. I learned so much just listening to him about how he looked at the quarterback position, and a bunch of my friends who played for him, Michael Carter and Kevin Fagan, he said that Bill Walsh had this technique. He would sit there, and Kevin or Jason, he would go like this. He would go, and Kirkpatrick or whomever was coaching Mike Holmgren, Shanahan, you motherfuckers, the next time one of these guys screws up, you're fired. All the players on the team used to go like this. Shit, I don't want my coach to get shit on like that. And so they were all like,
oh, yeah.
But that was a gimmick of his. And he made that like,
and he used the gimmick the same way.
Who?
Holmgren. Because that's where he would rip the crap out of Andy Reid in front of Favre, which made Favre like feel guilty for screwing up, right? And make him want to work hard because he loved Andy so much. Because Andy took all the crap for him, right? Now Holmgren would yell at a lot of players too. Don't get me wrong. But Bill yelled at the players through the coaches. And he was hard on his coaches. He was tough.
I think it's a brilliant way of like coaching guys.
Because it doesn't interfere with the relationship between you and the player. Although I will say, look, Joe and Bill hated each other by the end.
Yeah, it was
because he wanted to trade Joe a dozen times, right? So
true.
So they had their problems. I mean, so look, I would just say this.
Yeah, but tell them who they wanted to trade for. It was John Elway. I mean,
he didn't want to trade Montana for Elway, but he wanted to draft Elway, and Elway was like, "Yeah, I don't think I want any part of that." So, and I wrote that in the book. Like he thought, "Oh, this is a real compliment," but I'm not ready for that. I don't want to walk into that trap. But I would just say, look, Walsh is up there. Obviously, Lombardi's up there. Paul Brown, invented a lot of the game. I think the there are two guys that they're missing from the discussion. I'm not sure that they work their way in the top five. I believe one of them does. But the first one, who I'm not sure he's in the top five, but Andy Reid is way, way up there in terms of strategy, modern era. Nobody's developed quarterbacks better than Andy Reid. Like every single guy who's ever played quarterback for Andy Reid basically has played the best football of their career, whether that's Donovan McNabb or Patrick Mahomes or AJ Feely or Jeff Garcia. Like all those guys played great football for Andy Reid, right?
Wasn't Reid the quarterback coach in Green Bay?
Yeah, he was. And so Favre played great. So he has something to him that guys adore and love. Michael Vick. How did Michael Vick play for Andy Reid? He was extraordinary. So that's one guy. So that I think deserves consideration for this top five, who I think would knock Shula out of there, right? Huh. but Shula has, some amazing things to him as well.
Here's why I said Shula. Here's why I said Shula, Jace, because Shula was in some of the most significant moments in pro football history when people forget he was the coach on the other side in Baltimore that took over for Weeb Eubank, and he coached that Jets team in '69, and that was him on the other side of the line. And then he gets the expansion team. I think there was one other coach that was before him, George Smith or something like that, with the Dolphins.
Yeah, right.
And Joe Robbie hires him, and he goes from a predominantly running attack and the no-name. He gets this guy Marino, and he evolved. Here's one reason why I think George Halas is so overrated. Halas had Butkus.
Well, forget Halas doesn't belong.
Halas had Butkus and Sayers and never made it to a postseason. I mean, dude, I'm sorry, but
Halas is
he never evolved.
Well, I'm just going to say this.
Shula evolved.
Halas as a owner, as a guy who promoted the league.
You think he's more like Al Davis then?
Yes. I think he's more like Al Davis in terms of what he did to build the NFL. Halas is unmatched. I mean, he's a great coach early in his career when it's a small league, but he's an amazing promoter of the league. He had vision, like he understood the value of the Packers. Like that's why he fought for the Packers to get a stadium so that they could stay there, because he understood the value of a David and Goliath situation. And he was Goliath in Chicago, but having a David there in Green Bay as a rivalry helped build the romance for the league. He understood the story, the narrative of what the league was. Okay. So, the evolution as a coach is a secondary thing. And yeah, I don't think he was around a long time, which is why he piled up a lot of wins. Okay. Not necessarily the forerunner of greatness. Paul Brown is more that. The guy who's the most underrated guy in this whole conversation, who hasn't been brought up yet, is Joe Gibbs. Because you tell me another coach who won 3 titles with 3 different quarterbacks. Joe Gibbs did one of the most impossible things in the history of the NFL. He made the quarterback position interchangeable. He made it so that you could plug one guy in or another guy. And he would even do it within the same season. Like the year that he had, who was the kid out of Palisades High School? Jay Schrader, right? Jay Schrader started the season. He didn't work out. Who takes over? Doug Williams. Doug Williams goes on to have one of the most historic runs, right? First black quarterback to win a Super Bowl, but an amazing run, an amazing Super Bowl performance, right? Against Denver, right? Like he wins one with Joe Theismann, then replaces Theismann. At the end, he wins with Rippon, who had an MVP season, but we both know Rippon was never a pure quarterback.
No. And to go down the lane of what you're saying, which is even more remarkable, he was the offensive coordinator for Doug when they got to the NFC Championship game when Doug was in Tampa. Mm-hmm. And he was the OC there. He leaves there. He gets the OC job with Air Coryell, and he's there from 79 to 80 when they went to the AFC Championship game and lost to Cincinnati. And he coached Dan Fouts. And then he turns around and he coaches, like you say, those 3 dudes to Super Bowls. Man,
it's the Super Bowls at a time when you have
Joe Gibbs has coached some amazing quarterbacks.
Well, I mean, but they weren't amazing quarterbacks.
No, but he turned them into those guys.
He turned guys who were guys. I mean, good, solid players, but he turned them into Super Bowl champions. And tell me another. Again, Parcells. Yes, Parcells won 2 Super Bowls with, 2 different quarterbacks.
He never won a Super Bowl without Belichick on his staff, though, too.
Or he had LT, and he had an amazing defense. And yes, Washington had an excellent defense and a balanced roster and all these other things. But like when you are able to go from one quarterback to the next quarterback to the next quarterback and turn that position into something interchangeable,
no drop off,
right? Like that's it. It's just and those offenses were all extraordinary offenses.
Do you
They were
think
not.
it was a coincidence that Bobby Beathard was the same guy who in Miami built those no names and all that talent for Tua? Then when he turns around and goes to Washington, he's there working with him there too.
No, it's that's a key part of it. Look, Bobby Beathard's critical because he had a great eye. I mean, like in the history of the NFL, nobody ever wins.
Why do you think Lombardi's considered the greatest?
I think it's because it's the time. It's right after the.
He's
time.
a romantic.
Yeah, it's romantic. It's romance. And again, he coached the David of the NFL. Like in the David and Goliath, he was the coach of David, who slew everybody, right? Who slew all the Goliaths in this little, no-name town. And, like listen to Lombardi. When you listen to Lombardi, even today, like the resonance of command, the resonance of, you're going to want to run through a wall for that man. You can hear it in the timbre of his voice, the no nonsense approach. He is all man. I mean, Lombardi is machismo, right? Among generals at a time when these guys were considered generals. So it is all the romance. It is the narrative. It is everything. And yeah, like they were great for a 7-year stretch, but a 7-year stretch in a league that had 10 to 12 teams.
Listen to this, Jace. My uncle said this to me when he was alive. Andy Robustelli. He said this is what Lombardi was and why he was so great. When he took over the 110-1 Packers, on that same 110-1 team, you had Starr, you had Horning, you had Jim Taylor, right. You had all of those tremendous football players defensively. You had all those guys who would go on to play, and there was like 8 Hall of Famers on that 1-win football team. And the next year he rolls in there and he just tells those guys, listen, things have changed here, dudes. I mean, we're going to play to perfection, knowing full well my uncle got this card. I have this card that Lombardi hand wrote. He passed it out and he gave it to everybody in the room. Says, we're going to strive for perfection, knowing full well we'll never attain it, but we're going to goddamn live in greatness. And if you're not with me, you are not the guy for this job. And he said that Starr couldn't believe it. He goes, Starr said the hair on his back of his neck stood up because he couldn't believe it. Because after that, things changed in Green Bay. And Lombardi tolerated nothing more than anything but than winning.
Yeah, I mean, look, Lombardi is a symbol. Now, if you put Lombardi in today's era, 32-team league, having to compete, win a salary cap, and all these other things, I don't know what happens. But he sits there at the, up on the top.
He would evolve.
I would think so. But I think, to me, Belichick is the guy who evolved the most and did the challenge and dominated this era.
He was pre-salary cap and he was really after the salary cap. So you think he is the best? You think Belichick's the best?
I think Belichick's the best. I would put him number 1 on my list. I think it's a shame that he didn't get a chance to finish out his career and become the winningest coach of all time. Who would
be your 5 guys?
I would have, in no particular order, because I would have Walsh would be up there. Not necessarily number 1. Gibbs would be in my top 5. Belichick is in my top 5. I think I probably go with Lombardi and maybe cut Brown, which is tough to do.
Would Reed be your 5th?
Reed might be my 5th, although I'm not sure that I'm going to do that. Knowles up there too.
What about Landry?
This is where the argument becomes really tough, especially when I don't have all the numbers in front of me. But this is like when we talk about quarterbacks, you have your 1 through 6, and then we can go 8 deep and get this right. I always say and maybe this is a cop out, and it's fine if people want to rip me for it. But if we're choosing up sides and I had picked number 6, I'm good. Right? I'm good. I'm good. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
if you're
yeah,
going to
you
go
want
Noel at 6, you're good, right?
yeah, right. You gave me Noel. Oh wow. You give me Andy Reid. Oh no.
Give
Like,
me Paul Brown, right? I'm all right.
oh, poor me. Like, what am I supposed to feel sorry for myself? I got Paul Brown as my head coach. Like, I mean, what are we doing here, right? Like, yeah, we're talking about such small differences in human beings, and trying to parse out what their titles were and what they're worth, compared to this era. And look, this is right now, I would just say Belichick won in an era where it was the hardest era to win in.
Yes.
A salary cap league,
Yes.
32 teams, right? Like,
you got 20% turnover every year on rosters.
Yeah. Like, what he did is just, it's mind-boggling to me. And I know people are going, oh, he cheated, he did this, and he did that. Whatever. You want to get into that. He won. How many games did he win after he was accused of cheating?
3 Super
How many
Bowls
titles?
after.
Yeah, like, I mean, go screw yourself, okay, with all that stuff, right? Like, just stop it. And he wasn't a great drafter. Oh yeah, really? He found Brady in the 6th round, and maybe he wasn't the guy who stood on a table for him, but he's the one who chose him to be the starting quarterback in that first Super Bowl run over Drew Bledsoe.
That they just gave a contract to the year previous.
Right, who was a number 1 overall pick by his buddy Parcells. But he had the guts to say, second-year kid who was a former 6th round pick, we're going with that dude over Drew Bledsoe. That's big stones to make that choice.
If you had to pick a head coach, how about this game? Who would you take as the winner? If Joe Gibbs was coordinating against Bill Belichick, who would you take in that football game? Gibbs or Belichick's team?
Well, Gibbs, they went head-to-head, right? And Gibbs beat him, right? Like, they won 3 Super Bowls with Washington, and Belichick was defensive coordinator.
They beat him in the NFC Championship games,
right? So it came down to it. Like, again, I know most people, when I say Joe Gibbs, they just
I love it. I think you're
right. They roll their eyes and go, whatever.
No way.
I'm like, again, you find a guy who made that position interchangeable, who. You're trying to remember the wide receivers, and they're good. Like, they're good. Gary Clark,
and them guys.
Gary Clark, Charlie Brown. Like, they went through some guys, and they have some Hall of Famers. But like, the defense, like Dexter Manley,
Charles Mann,
those aren't Hall of Fame guys.
No, they're good players, but not
really good players. Did he go out and get Wilbur Marshall as for 2 first-round picks? Yeah, but
only one Hall of Fame lineman, if you think about it, was Russ.
Right. Now, a great unit. We can have an argument about it. Yeah, but only one Hall of Famer. The Hogs might be one of the most famous offensive lines of all time, but one Hall of Famer, right? Like, that wasn't the star-studded roster of the 60s Green Bay Packers, right?
No, they had Fuzzy Thurston, and they had
right, like that's not what he had.
Greg and
now he had interchangeable guys, great coaching, great preparation, and never a quarterback who you would sit there and go, that is a league-altering guy. None, zero. Joe Theismann, I mean, better announcer than he was a quarterback, right? Doug Williams, great dude, probably one of the great arms of all time, historic figure, especially in the history of black quarterbacks, an amazing historic figure. Not one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, okay? And Mark Rippon, okay? Like, just not the guy, right? Like, not anybody, none of those guys strike fear in your heart. Like, oh my God, what am I going to do against this guy? The way you might say with a Marino or a Montana or an Elway or a Brady, like those guys. None of those guys are guys that you're afraid to game plan against. and he won.
Last one here for you. So we're 3 weeks out from the Hall of Fame game, which means that these guys are going in. And here's just a thumbs up or thumbs down. The 2027 class, you got Roethlisberger, Peterson, and Gronk.
There's one more. There's one more. You're forgetting one.
Roethlisberger, Adrian Peterson, Gronk, and Richard Sherman.
Richard Sherman, yeah.
Okay. I mean,
good luck being a returning candidate.
Good luck being Eli.
Eli ain't sniffing the Hall of Fame this year.
Eli is not going to be, dude. He may
not get
into the Hall of Fame until the Veterans Committee.
No, he'll get in. I think before that, there'll be there's going to be a point at which we get to about 2030 because I don't think he's getting in before 2030.
No way.
But he'll. Yeah, look at Brady's coming up the year after or whatever. Brady's coming up soon, right? So
Breeze is coming up. No, Breeze went in. Right. Yeah, you think Flacco's a Hall of Fame player?
No, stop. Yeah, come on.
He's not a Hall of Fame. Hey,
no, a really nice career.
Is Adrian Peterson a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Yeah. Adrian Peterson's all man.
Okay.
All man. Come on.
Okay. How about the other? What are you going to do with Antonio Brown?
In this class? Is he in that class?
Yeah.
He ain't getting in.
Wait, he's better than the guy you just put in from Arizona.
I understand that, but he ain't getting in.
Whoa, OJ. Hang on here. Hang on. Antonio Brown is better.
I'm not sure I totally buy that, number one. Okay, but a good argument can be made. But I will also say this. Sometimes it's about.
You don't think he's better than Larry Fitzgerald?
I think it's debatable. Larry Fitzgerald was a beast.
Larry Fitzgerald was a first ballot.
I understand. But sometimes it's about who's in your class with you. You tell him, is Antonio Brown going over Gronk? No. Is Antonio Brown going over Adrian Peterson? No. Is Antonio Brown going over Ben Roethlisberger? Probably not. Is he going in over Richard Sherman? Probably not. So you only have 5 spaces.
He's an 8-time.
Is Antonio Brown going to jump all your dudes like Reggie Wayne and Torrey Holtz?
Better than them guys. He's an 8-time.
He is, but he's not going to jump those guys. Not at wide receiver. He's just not.
You're putting his attitude. You're putting his behavior in it now.
Hey, that's part of the game, man. He worked his way out of the league. He worked his way out of the league.
Gee, Jason, he's got 1,000 catches and 13...
I understand. Look, Antonio Brown in my fantasy football team, I'm taking him every day, twice on Sunday. In fact, I remember the year that I took him the first time because I'd seen him in the playoffs the year before when he made the big 3rd down catch against the Jets. And I took him in my last pick, and everybody's like, "Why are you taking that guy?" I go, "Because he's a stud."
6 years in a row of over 100 catches.
Hey, dude, I'm telling you, he's a great player, but he worked his way out of the league. He did. You can't deny that.
No, you can't.
His behavior with the Raiders is crazy. His behavior.
Anybody will stand up?
No. Let me finish this point because it's not a small point. His behavior with the New England Patriots, a joke. His behavior with the Raiders, a joke. His behavior with the Bucs got him he worked his way out of the league. He didn't go gracefully. He went crazy. All right. How do I account for that? Are you honoring? Am I supposed to take a guy who won't honor the game and work at it
and accuse of attempted murder?
Right. And on top of the fact he's got a case pending that I don't even know what the result's going to be. I mean, look, you talk to a bunch of guys. He's a bad teammate.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. So, what am I supposed to put him in ahead of Gronk? supposed to put him in ahead of Sherman? I'm supposed to put him in ahead of these other guys? No, I'm not doing that.
Quite a career.
Oh, absolutely. And does he deserve Hall of Fame consideration, especially if he gets out from underneath this attempted murder charge? Absolutely, he does.
I
If
got.
he doesn't, if he's got an attempted murder charge and he's guilty of that, I'm gonna you can sit for a long time.
Let me sneak this in on you here on this thing. It goes through OJ. It's about OJ and Antonio Brown. How much do you look back at that and go, gee, OJ Simpson is one of the top 3 running backs in the history of the league. And on top of that, you talk about the importance of AFL football guys to the NFL, Namath and him in the late 60s.
Well, he played one. Come on, he played 1 year.
But he's still.
And the merger was already decided.
Dude, you can't debate OJ's not one of the best 3 running backs in the history of the league.
I understand that, but I also have to live with myself.
But wait, well, now that's my point where I'm going. Prior to that, all of the things that OJ had done in his career, he's synonymous with you can't talk about the league without saying OJ Simpson's name in it. He's part of the history of the league.
And guess what? And here's my counter to that point. I can't write the history of the world without talking about Adolf Hitler. Am I putting Adolf Hitler in the Hall of Fame?
No.
No, but I mean that's
he was already in.
A crap argument.
But he was already in.
The crappiest argument of all time is you can't write the history of this guy without of the NFL without this guy. Yeah, I can't write the history of the world without Attila Han. I can't Genghis Khan without. There's a plenty of murderers out there that you can't write the history of the world without. That's right. I can't. Benito Mussolini. I can't write the history of the world without him.
I got to go Italian on me. Listen,
because it's just a thing.
Listen. All right, so
Debbie. All right.
How much does that argument right there influence you with potential guys that you could be handing that gold jacket to?
That argument is the most intellectually malignant argument of all time. I hate that argument. Okay, I absolutely hate that argument. I got to look myself in the mirror.
You got to vote on Darren Sharper too.
Well, he's already been done. He's passed through.
You guys put him on a ballot.
Well, he was on the ballot. We didn't vote to put him on the ballot. It's on the ballot. And what happened to him? Did he disappear?
So a rapist gets on a ballot. Who put that guy on?
We don't. No. You're automatically on the ballot. Okay, you don't get nominated to be on the ballot. You retire. You're out for 5 years. You're automatically on the ballot.
So the Hall of Fame does that.
Yes, but he qualifies because he was retired. Okay, it's an automatic thing. He's on the list, and guess what? Did he get voted on again, ever?
No.
Did he disappear? Has he disappeared from the ballot? Yes.
Yes.
Am I voting for Darren Sharper ever? No. And if that answer gets me banned as a voter, so be it. But I have to live with myself.
Is that why you didn't vote for the guy from Kansas City?
Right, Jim Tyrer. I'm not going to vote for a guy who murdered his wife. And if I had to vote for OJ today, I couldn't do it. All right? And yeah, that sucks. Okay? But I have to live with myself.
So you think the Bills are right not to carry his name over to the
Correct.
state?
Why?
Well, because
new ownership, they own nothing. They own nothing to OJ.
Well, he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Why don't the whole Football Hall of Fame?
That's their choice. Okay. I mean, look, that's the Hall of Fame runs the Hall of Fame however it chooses. I'm not on the board. And I'm not here to rip them and say that they've done the wrong thing. I'm only talking about what can I live with? All right. As a human being, can I reward somebody who did this? And the answer is, in a lot of these cases, the answer is no. Now, I was around to vote for OJ? No, I didn't vote for OJ. I wasn't going to vote.
Aren't you supposed to vote for what the guy did in between the hash marks?
Yes. That's absolutely true. So again, if I lose my vote because of this, because I said that I'm not,
I don't think you're wrong.
I know you do. I know you're playing a devil's advocate, and it's fine. I know the role that you're playing, and I know that this is a more intellectual discussion than the history of the league argument that you tried to make. That's a bad argument. But this is a difficult decision where I have to sit there and say to myself, can I live with myself if I vote for a guy like this? And the answer is no, I can't. And I've said that. I'm not like that's been said in a meeting. I said it in front of other people, and that's okay. Because I think that generally most people would agree with me, and they'd understand, and they understand the argument. Okay, and there are certain things about behavior. Like, am I going to vote for Antonio Brown sometime to get into the Hall of Fame, assuming he doesn't get found guilty of attempted murder? Yeah, I probably will. Is it going to be this year? No, because there are other guys who are better candidates, or at least as good, who didn't work their way out of the NFL. I mean, look.
So you think with what you're saying here is that T.O. worked his way out of being a first ballot because of the way he behaved?
I'm going to tell you this. When I do my survey, and you've done my survey, you're one of the guys who votes. Okay? When I had T.O.
I'm very honored.
I value your opinion because you watch and you care. And I got 400 something guys who vote, and because they're people who watch, they care, they played, they coached, they were picked players, whatever they did, right? When I put it in front of those people, T.O. was, I think, in the first year he was eligible, was 8th.
I didn't.
He wasn't in the top 5.
I didn't either.
Right. Now, does he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? Absolutely.
I think I did the second year. The second year when you gave it to me, I think I did it second year.
Yeah. So, but I mean, and look, he's in the Hall of Fame, and at the end of the day, nobody really truly cares if you're a first ballot or not. You're in the Hall of Fame, right? T.O. cries about it because he wants to whine, and and that's fine. He can cry and whine. I don't care. He's in the Hall of Fame. He should stop. I mean, other human beings have much bigger problems in their life than not getting in the Hall of Fame on the first year that you're eligible. Okay.
There's two dudes that I think the NFL Hall of Famers have to look at their importance of what they meant to the league. I don't know why Jack Tatum is not in the conversation if Rodney Harrison is, because I know why, because he paralyzed the guy in New England. And, if you're going to put Devin Hester in, I don't know how you don't think about putting a guy like the guy in Buffalo, putting him in.
Asker.
Or putting a guy like White Shoes Johnson in.
We talked about those guys. We've talked about them. Unfortunately, like in Billy's case, White Shoes, in his case, I mean, he's on the senior committee right now, and that's a deep list of guys who, But I mean, look, I'll always say this: when Devin Hester was back there, you didn't leave. You didn't leave. You didn't leave.
They changed the rules of the game on the kickoff because of him.
Right. It's like, like when he was back there, it was showtime. And you can say that to a certain extent about guys like Brian Mitchell or White Shoes. And Tasker did some amazing things as a gunner, and blocking punts, and he did some.
How about this case? White Shoes Johnson. Okay, White Shoes Johnson was on the all 70s team. He was on the all 80s team.
Yeah.
And he was on the all 70s team and all 80s team, and a 4-time Pro Bowler as a kick returner. I mean,
terrific player. He's a terrific player. I'm not down, but there's an imaginary
that matters to you when you're on the all-decade teams.
It does matter. Billy White Shoes Johnson's a great player. Do I remember him being, like Dion was a better punt returner probably than White Shoes. And
to be fair, Cliff Branch was probably, more of a guy that you would debate that.
There are some guys that
I think Cliff Branch is better than Drew Pearson.
Eric Metcalf's, like Eric
great
Metcalf
player.
Right, yeah.
Was it Eric or Terry? Was that Terry Metcalf?
I'm sorry, Terry Metcalf. Well, Eric, they're both
with the Cardinals, right?
Yeah, with the Cardinals, Terry Metcalf.
Yeah, Terry.
They're both terrific players, but there are a bunch of really good returners. Guys who were borderline. But there was one guy. If you ask me, like if if you say, like, I'm sitting there and I got to really, go to the bathroom. Okay.
It's Devin Hester.
and like anybody else, I'm like, okay, I got to take a break. I got to go to the bathroom. If Devin Hester, I got to hold this one, man.
Make sure you guys do me a phenomenal favor. Make sure you get there to our friend's place there in Gainesville. And I promise you, when you go to the Bagel Bakery there in Gainesville, you will see one of my favorite places in Central Florida. It is at 4113 Northwest 16th Boulevard in Gainesville. He's got Eagle fans that roll in there each and every single week. We
say Sileo's name and you get half off. How's that?
There you go. Sileo's name, you get half off there in Gainesville.
Half off. Say Sileo's name. That's right.
You got it.
All you got to do is say Sileo. All right.
Sileo. Hey, my friend, thank you so much. I love talking football. That was a wonderful conversation. I'll see you soon. Thank you, Jace.
All right, dude. Be good.
You got it. That is my friend, Jason Cole. What we'll do when we come back out of timeout, we'll read those supers with my guy, Zander. We're going to pay some bills here. The one and only Morgan & Morgan, with over $30 billion recovered. Our great friends at Morgan & Morgan. Again, folks, we appreciate you guys. Every single person that has called because of what they've seen here on the program. We appreciate them. Obviously, if you've ever been injured on the job, please do me a favor. Check my friends out. They started this firm over 25 years ago because of families like John's who were affected when his brother got hurt on the job. It became a crusade to make sure that they protected families. And they've been doing it for over 25 years. Told you about the family in Pennsylvania that was initially offered $650K. They got nearly $30 million in settlement. Go to forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. That's forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. And do me a favor. You tell them Big Sales sent you.
There's a reason Detective Johnson is the gossip king.
Oh, did you hear? Jackie and Tom
are getting a divorce? Sad.
Well, I heard that Ashley
had work done on her face? Yeah, oof.
Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. Injured? With over $25 billion recovered for our clients, there's a reason to go big.
Bathroom? Okay.
Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Oh, okay.
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is Eric. When he got injured in a car accident, he called Morgan & Morgan. He not only gets a lawyer, he gets trial lawyers like Sam and Jessica, who are in it to win it. He gets his own investigators with briefcases, leather ones. And if you ever have questions, our customer service folks keep things rolling. Injured? We're your army. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Shot Takers and the Tastemakers. Welcome to the Viewfinders, the Thrill Seekers, and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand.
Thank you.
We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years. And that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your gut says Miami is going to win and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
EAGLES. Eagles.
$50% off at the bagel place in Gainesville here. Don't think I will have time doing that. Okay, so, oof, be a tough one this weekend. How you doing there? All right, I like it. 50% off. Big Z, we're gonna do those supers now, and we got some supers to read here. We appreciate each and every single one of you guys. Do me a favor and please hit the like button here. Let's see. We go back here. Maybe we don't need Zander here with us here to read these supers here. So let's go back. Make sure we get them all. Guys, I can't tell you how we appreciate it. So let's go back here and read these here. Prior to Jason coming on. I appreciate Jason coming on too. Interesting. I'm glad he put Andy Reid up there. I think Andy Reid is a top 10 guy. When it goes bad, Kyle got answers. Yes. I don't think Sirianni, no, I'm not that guy. I don't believe he has answers when things go to shit. Now, I will also say, Marsh, that he's also criticized for some of those in-game moments, like in the Super Bowl against the Patriots and in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. He had questionable calls there, dude, especially in the overtime. I thought he nutted up, and I thought he got conservative. Great coaches use the players' abilities to win, something Nick refuses to do. We see Shanahan beat us with practice squad players. He had answers. You're not wrong. Hire competent coach. Marsh, I appreciate you, bro. Diggs played well for the Pats last year. AJ going to hurt Pats because he's going to want the ball every play, which will change that offense. Yeah, but dude, he's got Josh McDaniels as his coordinator. Josh McDaniels, Sean Mannion, Kevin. So wait a minute. Marsh, instead of having Kevin Patullo like they did a year ago, Josh McDaniels now has A.J. Brown. And that's quite a leap from going from Kevin Patullo to Josh McDaniels as a coordinator. I mean, if you don't think that's going to be a factor, Z, you love Nick, don't you? Let's see here. Hurts would benefit more from a defensive-minded head coach. Maybe. Damn lie, Nick. Don't know shit. Marsh can't stand. Nick Sirianni. Let's see here. He can't stand Nick. I believe we got this one, Kimbo. We did. All right. There's our supers. Yeah. Kyle does not have answers. Shanahan chokes in Super Bowls. So he's been to a Super Bowl as a coordinator with the Atlanta Falcons, and he's been to two. One with Purdy and one with Jimmy Garoppolo. So he's been to 3 Super Bowls. And he's lost all 3 of those. He's gotten his team to the game. Like I said to you before, Senor, I think Kyle Shanahan is one of the best offensive-minded guys in pro football. Just like I did Andy Reid. I still think, though, that he struggles at times with 2 minutes. 2 minutes into the half and 2 minutes at the end of ball games. And I think it's got a lot to do with the quarterbacks he has. And that debacle in Atlanta when he had Matt Ryan, Matt Ryan's probably the best quarterback he's had. And he took Purdy and he took Garoppolo to a Super Bowl. Little Nicky went to play Mahomes twice and beat Mahomes, Reed, and Spags. Nick did? Okay. So Doug Peterson with Nick Foles, beat Tom Brady and Belichick. So are you trying to say that Doug Peterson is a better coach than Belichick and that Foles a better quarterback than Brady? Sills, why isn't Shanahan on the hot seat yet? I think it's because of how he works with John Lynch and how great a coach he is. He's a great coach. I'm not gonna dismiss his moments in game. I'm going to agree with you. What I don't get about Nick is why in the Super Bowl did the press down on the gas and run up the score, but in 25 season, Nick played it conservative. I think it's because of what you just said. I think it's got a lot to do with the talent on the field. And like you said, if I'm in that Super Bowl against Kansas City, I'm not letting off the gas pedal. I'm running that team off the fucking field. It's not my job to tell my guys to stop playing. I don't subscribe to that because it teaches bad habits. One of the reasons that guys like Spurrier and all them dudes ran the score up all the time and Nick Saban, just because you can't stop us, I'm not stopping us. That's not your job to stop your team. Hey, pull up. Bullshit. I want killers. I want guys that are going to drive a stake through a team. I want guys that put people to sleep. I don't want pull up anything. Nobody does that. Dude, run them over. Run them over twice. Nobody, it's football. You don't lay up. Hey, let me pull back because, I want to make it fair? Fuck that. If I'm beating a football team and I'm beating a player, I'm beating his ass all day long for 60 minutes. I'm not telling my guy, hey guys, we're going to lighten up. Bullshit. Sales, it could be with the quarterbacks that he has, but the dude refuses to run the ball while holding a lead in the fourth. I think that's the same thing with McVay. And here's something that I'll say about those quarterback coaches / OCs that throw the ball a lot. The one thing that those guys can't do and why they're not very good at closing games out is because their running games aren't efficient enough. They lose leads. I think McVay in that Chicago game, he's lucky he got out of that. And then the Seattle game, Seattle ran the ball, didn't turn it over. McVay couldn't control the clock with 2 minutes left, and Seattle rolled them back. Every time you go 3 and out, say you get a 14-point lead, okay? Say you get a 14-point lead, and you're up 14 points with 7 minutes left, and you're still throwing the ball. Dumb shit, man. What happens if you get 3 and out? Well, you gave a possession back, and you didn't burn any time off the clock, okay? I get a chance, I score. All of a sudden, you still throw the ball. You get a 3 and out. I'm back in it. I wasted 6 minutes of the 7 minutes, and I got a minute left to beat you on a field goal. That's in-game time of possession, and that's in-game clock management. These guys, you got a guy in your ear telling you, we got 8 minutes left in the game. We need 3 and outs. Your D-line coach will come over to you, or your D coordinator will come over. We got 8 minutes left. Probably going to get the ball twice. We need 3 and outs. If you got a dumbass coordinator on the other side and he's still throwing the ball, that helps me. Got 25 seconds in between plays, right? 25, 25, 25. That guy's throwing the ball, incomplete pass, clock stops. What a dumbass. Great. You're helping us. Then you get him in 3rd and 8. Boom. You wasted basically 60 seconds, a minute of that 8 minutes. Get the ball back, score. Then you get a chance again if the dumbass is doing the same shit. Run the ball. That's the problem you get in Baltimore. Baltimore's still throwing the ball with 5-6 minutes left in the game. Why? You got Derrick Henry. And why were the Eagles running the ball? I mean, throwing the ball late in the game with the lead? And against the 49ers, why were you throwing it? You won the running game in that game. I mean, it was the first game that you outrushed somebody in a while. And you were winning that. Instead, late in the game, they threw it. And they stopped. And you're like, why would you throw the freaking ball? And you put those guys in the 49ers in a position to come back and gain points on you. See, to me, when I watch a game, I watch sequence of plays. You got 9 minutes left in a football game. Here's how I watch a game. 9 minutes left. If that guy doesn't, your quarterback, take that play clock down to 2 seconds or 1 second, your quarterback should be fired too. I don't want to see them getting up there with 8-9 seconds left on the clock, snapping the ball. Bullshit. Snap it at 1. Get all 25 seconds. But you got to have a smart quarterback that sees that, can audible out. Have to call a timeout maybe. Got to save your timeouts. Does the coach, good clock management, have TOs to use at the end of the game with 3 minutes left in the ball game? And Kevin Petullo was all over the place. They didn't have timeouts or what have you in games. They were 3rd and 10, 3rd and 8. 3rd and 8. Punt. Run the ball. You don't get it. So what? Your punter was one of your better players. Punt it. The clock continues to roll. You punt. There's 60 seconds right there you burn off. It never made sense to me. It just never made sense on how they handled their clock management late in the games last year. They were all over the place. Well, Sills, that's because Lamar Jackson is trying to pad his stats. Padding fucking stats? I want to win a ball game. I don't give a shit about padding. I'm going to take that player on the sidelines to me and go, stop throwing the ball. If you throw that ball, dude, I'm sitting your ass. You can't throw the ball with 2 minutes left in a ball game, and you got a 7-point lead. And you got Derrick Henry. Baltimore the last 2 years. I don't get that. I don't get that. And what was it? What did I see? 30. They had 78 passes. What is it? 38, 40. They had 78 passes in the last 2 playoff games that eliminated them. For what? 78 passes for Lamar Jackson is criminal. I don't care how good he is. That's for any quarterback. I got a 7-point lead in every one of they had a lead in every one of those games and lost it late because of in-game play calling. And you're like, dude, how are you not seeing the clock? This was Andy Reid's problem. Andy didn't really do a great job with timeouts going into the half. Sometimes he would have them. Sometimes he wouldn't. Dude, there were guys on the sidelines that have to remind him, Coach, you want a timeout here? No. Mike Martz was terrible at timeouts and throwing the flag. He didn't even want to do it. He believed in that Chip Kelly, as many plays as you could run, that mentality. And I'm like, that's not going to win ball games, especially those type of ball games. Dude, I've told you guys, the game is 3 points differential. Every yard matters. You may not think it does, but field position and possessions. Field position and possessions. That's what killed Philly last year. You were horrible on 3 and outs, and you were terrible in the run defense. What does that mean? If I can run the ball on you, I'm running the clock out. I hear John always say this: Vic will give up rushing yards. Really? That means you're giving up time of possession? You think Vic's cool with giving up time of possession? If you got to get the ball back and I'm running the ball down your throat, you're cool with giving up and giving your offense the ball with a minute left instead of with 5 minutes left? I don't know, man. Teams that can run the football, they own the clock. And if you own the clock, you own the game. That's how you win, is by owning the clock. Field position and owning the clock. Run the ball, defend the run. Passing yards are, if you don't have a really good passer, you're giving possessions away. All right. Guys, I appreciate you very much. Man, tomorrow we're going to be 11 days out to the start of training camp. And by the way, today, Seattle report. Tomorrow, 49ers report. Incredible. Hit the like button. We'll see you 2 to 6, and we will catch you on